Eve Staples, you too, if you don't mind as well, just your unit number.
Hi, everybody.
Hello. Audrey, I think you're unit 10, hey? Remember correctly?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Greg, Eve is 37.
37, thank you.
Hi there, sorry, it's Brendan here, Eve's
Okay.
husband. I actually am not too familiar with Zoom. I'm not sure how to change the name there.
No problem. Brandon,
Yeah,
47,
but
hey?
Eve will be joining me now shortly also.
Thank you.
I see someone has changed the name there. It's 37, not 47, please.
Okay, thank you. Apologies, that was me. Alexandra, could I also ask you to please just put your unit number somewhere in your name, if you don't mind.
Craig, if you tell them how to do it, might help. If you
Oh,
like,
okay.
I'll tell them. You just click on your name at the bottom, right click on it, and then at the bottom of the window that pops up, it says rename.
Okay, so Lise, what do the numbers look like so far? It would almost seem that we do have a quorum already.
Okay, can I just go through all the names that I've got so far? It's unit 1. I've got unit 1, that's a proxy. I've got unit number 5, that is attending. Unit number 10. I've got unit number 14, 15, and 16. Unit number 21, which is a proxy. Unit number 2. I've got unit number 24. Unit number 26. Unit number 30. Then I've got unit 34, unit 37, 38, 39, unit 42, which is also a proxy, unit 45, and 48. Is there anybody that I missed? If you can just put in the chat for me, maybe.
I wasn't listening because I'm here.
Okay, Richard, I've got you, yes. Okay.
And then Ellen, proxy 46, you have that. Okay,
Where is Mr. Hill?
We'll give Sulis just a few more minutes to collate all those numbers. And we'll take it from there. Shouldn't be too long now.
Onki's got his hand up.
Thanks, evening, everyone. I don't
Hello,
think my
Rocky.
unit was counted, unit 31.
Unit 31.
Yeah.
Recording in progress.
Is there anybody that has any objection to the sitting being recorded?
I think it's a good idea. I would like a copy when you're finished with it.
Okay.
Okay, we have quorum. Can I share my screen?
Yes, please do.
Can everybody see my screen?
Yeah.
So we've
All
got
good.
45.79.
Nice turnout. Thank you. Right. Without further ado, we can then commence the meeting. So,
Hello.
hello.
Hello. I'm sorry to interrupt, but on the screen that was just shared, number
Yes.
25 isn't on that screen.
Have you got a proxy for number 25?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
25 is Stan.
Right. Okay, what it'll do is it'll just inflate our call rate, probably to around 50% or thereabouts.
I'll just add it as well.
Great, thank you. Okay, so call rate has been achieved. Therefore, all right, Alan Levy has joined, and is there anybody that has any objections to him chairing the sitting? Maybe by way of introduction, Alan, you want to maybe just mention who you are?
Good
Can
evening
I-
to all the. Please proceed, sir.
Somebody's making a. Okay, right, off you go. Thank
Good
you.
evening to all the owners and the proxies who have joined us this evening. My name is Alan Levy, and I'm a community scheme attorney, and I've been asked to chair this evening's meeting. I'm going to proceed with the agenda that's been distributed to everyone in the AGM pack. I'm also going to have reference to the management rule, which says what we have to deal with tonight. In terms of the management rules, the rules give me certain powers to maintain order in tonight's meeting, to regulate the orderly expression of views, to act fairly and impartially, to ensure everyone has a chance to speak, to make decisions on points of procedure, and to settle disputes by giving rulings. In summary, please, when you do have an opportunity to talk tonight, please keep the points that you make factual. Please do not get emotional, and please be cautious of defaming anyone who's present or not present at tonight's meeting. The
Can I
first
ask you a
item-
question? Can I ask a question? This is the
Just
first
to-
time we've
Just to
had,
record unit 21, please proceed.
this is the first time we've had an outside chairman. I would like to ask a couple of questions about that. First of all, who requested this?
Just to correct you, sir, I'm not the chairman. The chairman of the trustees is present. I'll just
Yes.
be chairing tonight's meeting.
That's exactly what I mean. Normally, we have Craig Johnson from STS who chairs the meeting. Tonight, it has been made clear that you are chairing the meeting. I would like to know the reason and who suggested that.
With
Two
pleasure.
questions.
Okay.
Craig, would you like to answer, or one of the current trustees, please?
Do any one of the current trustees want to answer this, or do you want me to go ahead and answer?
I'll go ahead, Craig.
Okay, so the trustees were of the opinion that this may well become a meeting of distension, and that it would need or require some sort of legal advice to assist in navigating us through this proceeding, because it was felt that these proceedings may well become emotional and possibly, how can I put it? Probably not.
Sorry, Craig, may I intervene there, because I don't exactly agree with that. We often have emotional meetings. I think the thing here is we are discussing a lot of legal things in the changing of the conduct rules, and none of us are really legally versed. So we decided to get legal opinion off the bat so that it can be decided here and now as to which rules will pass and which rules won't, with legal opinion. That was my understanding.
Yeah, Daryl, you're quite
Absolutely,
right.
that was,
You know,
that
with
was one of the
CSOS,
reasons, yes.
yeah, there were a lot of questions with CSOS. You know, CSOS is relatively new to us, and I mean, there've been one or two cases that have gone to CSOS this way, that way. So, you know, Alan's the perfect person to answer any questions, and that's not from the trustees, it's anybody present can ask for clarification as to what CSOS particularly means on this or that issue. So, yeah, Richard, it might not be going forward. You know, we can carry on using Craig going forward. And the trustees may elect in future to do it. It's just nice to have someone of Alan's stature and knowledge so that people can ask a lot of questions. You know, we get a lot of mail saying that they think this and they think that, and legally this and legally that. But of course, as Daryl points out, none of us are legally trained, as is Alan. So we can ask those questions now on whatever matter it is and get finalization on something. So I think it's a great initiative. Well done, Craig.
Well, thank you very much for that, Glenn. I just want to say that I'm very suspicious of this move, but I trust that the chairman who is acting as chairman will be impartial and hopefully more impartial than Craig normally is. The second question I have about this is obviously you're a lawyer and you're not doing this for nothing. Who's paying?
And how much?
All right, Craig or one of the trustees, do you wish to answer?
Yes, absolutely. So Alan has been paid 2,500 rand to chair this sitting. And as Daryl and Glenn so rightly put, the value add comes purely from the answering of the legalities that we're going to be going through tonight, in particular the conduct rules and various other pertinent points. So, yeah, instead of taking it back to CSOS or anybody else afterwards to ask whether or not this is in fact ratified or true and correct, it was thought to bring Alan on board, as mentioned earlier on. So it's 2,500 rand that we're paying Alan for this sitting.
But the rules saw it.
Who's we paying? Is STS paying? Are the trustees paying privately to protect themselves? Or are you charging the body corporate for this? Answer the question, please, Craig.
The body corporate is paying for this as instructed and directed by the trustees. It's all legal.
Instructed by the trustees. Thank you.
Correct. All right.
Could I
Right.
please say
Can we,
something,
can we
Mr. Levy?
proceed?
Well, may I just ask a question?
Sure.
Well,
No,
perhaps make a
please.
comment. I mean, I'm a fairly new homeowner to this complex. I'm not too well versed on some of the past issues or the issues that are foreseen in this meeting or whatever. But I do think it is a bit, and I do appreciate what the trustees are saying about getting legal advice on board. It seems like a very sound idea, especially if these are questions that are coming up. But if it isn't standard procedure to have an outside person to chair this meeting, you know, I'm not sure why that needs to be done and why, say, you know, someone like, you know, Alan can be present on the meeting in an advisory capacity, you know, and why do we have to deviate from what would be normal standard protocol?
Would
Okay.
Craig or the trustees like to answer that?
Sure. Glenn, Daryl,
Yeah,
and
Craig,
you want to say something?
I'll answer that. Yeah, look, it's, you know, it's not so much as a deviation. I mean, we may do it. Well, I say we. I'm a trustee for the next 5 hours. I think it is good. You know, we run up legal bills. You know, number 11, and I won't go into all of that. But I think our legal bill ran up to 30,000 rand. I think. So I think it is something that we may need to do in future. You know, next. You know, there were also some people, and it's been partially mentioned now, there were some people that said, why does Craig do it? Why does Craig, the chairperson? Because in the minds of some, he wasn't impartial, he wasn't neutral. Alan's completely neutral. Alan doesn't know any of us, he's never met any of us, etc., etc. So Alan is just really here. And I would suggest that going forward from time to time, you know, when there's an accumulation of questions, and STS will tell you, they probably get bombarded with request, is this legal, can we do this, can we not do this, we heard this, etc., etc. So guys, this really is just a once-off, and it wasn't put there this is recorded, you know, and Alan is a, you know, very accredited legal practitioner. He's not going to take sides or tell you something that's not legal because it could be challenged later. So guys, it really is just a once-off. For any of those people that have any questions to ask about legalities, how CSOS works, what CSOS jurisdiction is. For example, we've already had 2 cases that have been submitted to CSOS, and it's found that they're not in the jurisdiction of CSOS. So that's obviously a waste of time for everybody. So really, guys, it's really just a once-off. And I mean, obviously, when the new trustees are elected later this evening or in the next hour or so, of course, they can make the call as to whether they want to have external chairpersons going forward or not. We just thought that it was just relevant because there's been so many emails that start with the words, is this legal, is that legal, we think that might be illegal. So really, we just wanted clarification. So anybody in this meeting, it's not a trustees meeting as such. This is an AGM. So everyone sits around here with equal voice. This is not a normal, monthly trustees meeting. You will all get an equal vote. It's not a, the trustees are going to outvote you, or Alan is going to outvote you on behalf of the trustees. He doesn't have that. So guys, I would hope that we can just carry on. And please, any of you that have got any legal, particularly Brandon, you just mentioned you're brand new to the complex, so I wouldn't know the background to some of the rules that currently are. And of course, this is the perfect forum for you to ask those questions and to query as to whether something is sort of in compliance with CSOS and in fact any other sectional title legislation that might be out there. So please go ahead.
I just want to find out if it was decided, why weren't all the trustees involved in electing to get somebody external? Not all the trustees were involved.
Could I please speak? Does Mr. Lee, Alan, Craig, can you hear me?
Absolutely, we can, yes.
Please, I just need to say, I mean, Glenn is being very diplomatic, and that's wonderful. But I just want to say to the forum here, and also to Auda's note about suspicion, we as trustees have had rather a challenging few months. You have not seen the trustees report. It hasn't gone out yet. We did admit to some challenging areas where we definitely needed legal counsel. That was one of the things. But on the issue of suspicion, I mean, we as trustees were highly suspicious when there was a breakaway group that held a meeting. None of the trustees were invited to that meeting. Certain owners were not invited. So we had, we're not going to just sit back and the two forums run La Montagne.
You're mistaken, Anne. I sent an email to the managing agent, and they did not want to send out an email to all the owners. They said it's unofficial. They will not send it out. That is a reality of what happened.
That's the point. It's unofficial. If something's unofficial, why not just wait a few days until this forum, when everybody, including yourself, Richard, you can put everything to the forum and let people make their own informed decisions. But to have a sort of huddle at the clubhouse, and it just doesn't sit well with trustees who've been voted, and we are currently, until tonight, representing the owners here. We were voted to do that, and that's our current responsibility.
Can I ask a question?
So I think that
to Alan Levy? Can I ask him a question? Get a legal perspective here. If a trustee resigns, how does the trustee get back on without going through an AGM? Because Anne Hutchins resigned. I got it on confirmation from the STS.
Exactly. And how did you know that, Ian? You knew that because you had inside information.
Oh no, I didn't get insider information.
Oh, yes.
Okay. Craig, please will you mute everybody except me? I'm going to bring order to the meeting.
Thank you. I think let's just bring order to this. Thank you, Alan. I appreciate that.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. I'm going to start the meeting, and then we're going to come to the item of electing a chairperson. You are entitled to vote on that. So if there's objections to that, then I will not be entitled to chair the meeting. So let's begin the meeting. The first item is to confirm the proxies. There are various proxies in attendance, and the proxies have been handed in. Item B, we have determined that there is a quorum, so the meeting can proceed. Item C, electing a chairperson to chair the meeting. Are there any objections to me carrying on with being the chairperson of the meeting? You're welcome to, I believe you're going to use one of the icons, and then you can put a pin, a thumbs up. Craig, just correct me, is that the way you're going to be counting the voting?
Absolutely right. So just use a thumbs up or some form of indication that you are happy with this. And I guess a thumbs down if you're not happy with it. Does anyone know how to do this? Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Great. I think that was a majority confirmation that Ellen, you can chair. If I could please ask you to proceed.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is to just present proof of notice of the meeting. I trust you all received the AGM pack for tonight's meeting, hence you being present. The next item is to approve this evening's agenda. I trust nobody has any objections to this evening's agenda.
Well,
Next,
I'm objecting to the discussion about the rules, because those rules will take far
Yes,
too
sir.
long for a meeting like this.
We'll deal with that when we come to it. And I also have a certain question about that item on the agenda, which I'll also bring up. The next item is to approve the minutes from the previous general meeting. Any objections to the approval of the minutes from the previous general meeting? Those were included in the pack, and I trust you all had a good chance to read those.
Yes, can I say one thing about that? In the section about the WhatsApp group, it says that I was against having the WhatsApp group, and that is not the case. I was only objecting to the person who is handling the WhatsApp group, not to the WhatsApp group itself. And I'd like that corrected in the minutes.
Okay, we'll record that in this evening's minutes. Thank you, Unit 21. Next item is to deal with any unfinished business. I trust that there wasn't any unfinished business at the last AGM. Then the next item is to receive reports of the activities and decisions of the trustees since the previous general meeting, including reports of committees. Can I ask Craig if the trustees' report has been sent out?
It needs to be read out this evening. Celeste, could you make that available? Thank you.
One of the trustees like to read it out, or alternatively, everybody can read it on screen. Either is fine. The current chairman, would you like to read it out, or would you like everybody just to read it on screen?
Well, Anne, do you want to read it? I mean, as you were the chairperson that put most of it together.
Okay, well, can I just interrupt here again, if I may? Because if Anne is going to be now called the chairperson, it was clear at one stage that she resigned. So how did she get to write this report?
I think, Richard, she would have written the report because, you know, the anomaly about whether she left for a couple of weeks, I mean, that's a separate discussion, but she was the chair lady for, call it 95% of the year, and was probably the best person in place to put it. But we did all see a copy of it, so it's not that Anne just wrote it. I mean, all the trustees have seen the report, so it's effectively from all of us. I just suggested that Anne read it out because it is in her own hand, and she's probably best, she can read it because she probably recognizes the texts, you know, immediately.
Please proceed.
Can I scroll down, please?
And if you are reading it, you are possibly muted.
I think we're all reading it.
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
I've got it here. Sorry, I didn't see it here. Okay, so introduction. Thank you to those who attended last year's AGM. The trustees voted on at that meeting are pleased to report on pertinent issues that cropped up during the year. They are in alphabetical order: Anne Hutchison, Glenn Langenegger, Hashim Majoti, Daryl McDonald, Audrey Muller, and Onke Siganu. Emerging from the COVID woods, so to speak, most of FY22 has been devoted to the waterproofing project. This is dealt with under maintenance. Besides other matters, we've also been dealing with a disgruntled group who were and still are intent on dismantling some of the work of the trustees and managing agent to suit their own individual agendas. This is addressed under occupant matters, to which we strongly draw your attention. The Poppy Act does not permit us to name these individuals, but please attend the AGM and make an informed decision on who you would like to represent you and look after your investment. Financial status. The BC has posted a very healthy set of figures, with special mention needing to be made as follows. Point 1, a surplus of 247,000 Rand for the year under review. Point 2, a remarkable reduction in arrears from 193,000 in 2021 to only 56,000 in 22. Point 3, we increased the cash on hand from 54,000 in 21 to 277,000 in 22. Maintenance expenses were 140,000 Rand under budget. Reserves have significantly increased, but work still needs to be done in seeking to replenish the CSOS reserves as discussed year on year. All in all, the financial well-being of the BC has surpassed last year's expectations, but the waterproofing project will eradicate all.
And I think we've lost you there.
Yeah, and it looked like you got hit by a waterfall. It sounded like it.
Yeah. May I suggest, Mr. Chair, if we could possibly, if everyone could just read the screen until we get Anne back. And Suliz, if you could just scroll down sort of gently and give everybody the opportunity to read line by line, it'll be great. Thank you. If you're happy with that, Mr. Chair.
I think I'll take over the reading. If you can just scroll slightly up. Right, all in all, the financial well-being of the BC has surpassed last year's expectations, but the waterproofing project will eradicate all surpluses if indeed a special levy is to be raised. Maintenance waterproofing project, La Montague, historical waterproofing issues, more prevalent in some units than others, and at times worsened, sometimes even caused by renovations, were in the spotlight this year. A waterproofing project team was set up to implement our consultant structural engineer Simon Nutton's report, which identified general problems across each block and recommended remediation measures. It was decided to focus on the two worst affected units, namely 30 and 42, housed respectively in blocks 5 and 7 at the rear of the complex. Much time and effort were spent in qualifying the company best suited for the job. The chosen contractor was Sycon, who quoted on the recommended actions, i.e. waterproofing of window frames and sills, waterproofing of parapets and dividing walls, flashing over the windows and flashing between the dividing walls. La Montague's owner, Lee Willoughby, who has structural engineering knowledge, offered much appreciated assistance by interrogating methods and costs so that we were comfortable by giving Sycon the green light to finally proceed. Work was set to commence during the dry winter season and will be reported on in next year's report. It should be noted that the waterproofing project does not guarantee an end to the problems that have long plagued La Montagne, but will hopefully go some way towards addressing them. Worth noting as a seller is that under the new Properties Act, effective 1 February 2022, all agents are required to disclose any snags or will be held liable. Garage doors, unfortunately, we have had no success holding the contractor to account for the substandard work carried out on the garage doors. The treatment of these will therefore be managed under a separate project. We thank those owners who have in the meantime attended to their own maintenance. Renovation and changes to existing structures. We continue to emphasize that the renovation of the units must be conducted within the prescribed legal framework. All changes in any form must be in accordance with due process and procedure. These are outlined in the Body Corporate Conduct Rules. Point 6.2 refers, the body corporate is not responsible for any resultant impact on any other unit as a result of changes, nor is it responsible for registering those changes, including changes to unit size, with the relevant authorities. Water meter installation. After experiencing problems with the installation and unit allocation of some water meters, these were attended to by our preferred plumber and the cost paid for by the original supplier. Installer, UU Solutions. The managing agent routinely reports and investigates any odd readings that are picked up. Gardens. A consultant landscape gardener provided services to trim trees affecting some residents' view from the complex and to clear the washing line area. Training on the care and maintenance of the gardens was simultaneously provided to our gardener, Lindani, who has implemented and improved many areas. Please note that owners have permission to maintain garden areas outside their units with plants or flowers of their choice. These areas may not be tampered with unless instructed by the trustees or managing agent. Security. No decision has yet been made on the downsizing of our security numbers. It is a costly and emotional issue as our security staff have been with us for many years. Intercom system. Installation of a new upgraded intercom system was yet again put on hold while attention was focused on the waterproofing budget. However, we are hopeful that it can be installed in the new financial year. Laundry. It was agreed that the laundry service would discontinue when the almost 30-year machines broke down. This was after a costing exercise showed they were not paying their way. In the meantime, the fee was increased to 20 Rand until such time they were no longer operational. Neither machine now works. The dryer was first to break down, followed by the washing machine. However, in a move instigated by a tenant trustee and a new owner, their removal was blocked. Thus, we find ourselves discussing an already debated and agreed decision at this year's AGM, when we know from quotes that repair or replacement costs are significant and will eat into our already strained budget. Bearing in mind, we also require a 475,000 reserve for our 10-year maintenance plan. Occupant matters. The above incidents highlighted issues which we will have a chance to address at the AGM, where a sectional title attorney will be present. The last few months have been unpleasant and led to a hampering of the work and decisions that the voted trustees were entrusted with. We are fully aware of a proxy campaign to influence trustee votes. We would urge that rather than being swayed by outside opinion, owners make an informed decision by attending the AGM in an open forum. Closing, thanks to all who have volunteered their services and to our managing agent. These are difficult times and we trust you will continue to support our efforts aimed at creating community harmony and protecting all owners' investment at La Montagne. Regards, La Montagne Board of Trustees. All right, thank you. So that is the receival of the reports of the activities and decisions of the trustees since the previous general meeting. It's not really a discussion item, it's just for everyone present's information. I'm going to proceed to the next item on the agenda.
Just hang on a second. Right at the end there, you're talking about a trustee, a proxy campaign. What's that about? I don't like it, a report like this that makes assumptions without any evidence.
Sir, the trustees' report has been read out. I'd recommend to you, if you have anything to add, we can just put your addition on the minutes of tonight's meeting.
And at the beginning also, there were some lines there that have obviously been written very recently, where they're talking about some kind of dissenting group. I can't remember exactly the wording. If you can't go back to it, then just make a note that I object to that kind of talk in a report where she's basically criticizing people for speaking out. That's not the function of the chairman. She's supposed to say what happened, and she's not supposed to criticize people who don't like what she's saying or doing.
Thank you, sir. We will minute that on this evening's minute of the meeting. Let's proceed to the next item, and that is to approve the schedules of insurance replacement values. Attached to the AGM pack, there is a schedule of replacement values. Is there any objection to approving the schedule attached to tonight's pack with the replacement values of the units? Presume you've all had a good chance to look through it. Okay, if the minute can record that there's no objections to the approval of the schedule of the replacement values. Also on the statutory agenda is to determine the extent of the insurance cover required in terms of Rule 23.6, 7 and 8. Perhaps the chairman or Craig can just fill us in, but I'm just going to tell you briefly. Rule 23.6 is for public liability insurance, and you need to have an amount of no less than 10 million rand. 27.7 is to cover risk of loss of funds belonging to the body corporate, and 27.8 is additional insurance that the owners may by special resolution require. So just to confirm, what is the current public liability insurance that the body corporate has? If the chairman or Craig can answer that.
Yes, it is 10 million as per the Act. So the body corporate is in line with all the requirements in that respect on the current policy.
Okay, and the cover for risk of loss of funds, would you have that amount on hand?
Could you call it up for us, please, Solis? We would. If I could just encourage all owners to actually go onto the web portal system, and you will find a copy of the insurance policy on hand as well, if ever you were to want to engage on these numbers.
Okay, while we give Solis a chance just to obtain that amount for us, I just want to proceed with the next item, and that is to approve the budget for the administrative fund and for the reserve fund. So I believe in your pack there is a budget.
Correct.
On my pages, if Craig can just confirm, it appears on page 12 and page 13.
Page 15 is the budget.
Sorry, Craig, would you be able to share your screen with the financial statements? Then I'm going to look for the fidelity cover.
Sure, thank you, will do.
Okay, so on page 15, we have the budget for the administrative fund and for the reserve fund for the next financial year. Are there any objections to approving the budget on page 15?
Sorry, can I just say something?
Yeah, your unit number, please.
26.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, there is no reserve fund. There is no reserve fund. There's nothing existing at the moment. I don't know why. Out of all the buildings I own, there's nothing here. So I don't know. There's a massive problem. I don't know where that is.
That is not true at all. You, in fact, have a reserve fund of 224,000 Rand, 664 rands.
It's supposed to be a separate line item. It's not indicated as that.
It's called current creditor accruals. So this is where your painting provision sits, as an example. And that is your CSOS reserves for maintenance in particular.
Aaron Levy, you should know.
I can most certainly call it the CSOS reserve fund. If that is
it must be a separate line item. I know this. I've got various buildings I own. I know what I'm talking about.
It can be made that way. It's not a problem at all.
No, it's supposed to be like that. It doesn't exist. Ellen Levy, please.
Okay. Ian, it's not true. You in fact do have a reserve of 222,955 rand.
It's supposed to
In
be a
line with
separate line item.
Okay, all right.
Craig, where is that amount on page 15?
It's on the balance sheet. So it's on page. Let me just bring up let me share my screen quickly.
It's supposed to be in a separate account. It's an interest-bearing account. And a separate account all by
Okay.
itself. It's not there.
100%. 100%. Just hold on. I'll bring it up now. Sorry, I do apologize. I'm just wanting to find the correct screen. And there it is. Okay. Can you all see the screen?
Yes, thanks.
Right. Your 224,955.08 is your CSOS reserve fund.
No, it's not. It's supposed to be labeled that. It's not. I'm sure
Okay, I can
Alan Levy
label it.
can confirm that.
Okay. In line with Management Rule 17, we should be approving the budget for the administrative fund and for the reserve fund for the next financial year. So on page 15, we appear only to have a budget for the administrative fund. Is that correct, Craig?
We do. You're correct. If you were to go to the surpluses derived from this particular year under question, those reserves would be placed to CSOS reserves.
Okay. Right, so
If
are
that
there
makes
any
sense.
objections to the approval of the administrative budget that's in front of you? I'm sure you've all had a good chance to look through it before tonight's meeting. Any objections to the administrative fund budget?
Onke has got a question here.
Hi, thank you. It's not an objection, but it sounds to me like that three people now are confirming that that specific line item cannot be classified as a CSOS reserve fund, right?
Sorry, okay, it can. It most certainly can. So those are funds that are set aside for maintenance projects. We can call it a CSOS reserve fund if that would make you, happier in that respect. But we can separate the line item. Most certainly.
Am I still connected?
Yes, you are. Okay, you are. Yes.
Hello. I don't know what just happened.
Onke, we can hear you.
Go for it. Okay, we can hear you.
Okay, now I can hear you again. So
sorry. Okay.
So
in a nutshell, okay, you have that reserve. It is there. It exists, and it's in a separate account, as Ian asked us to clarify.
But it's not. It's not a separate line item. This is the budget. This is what was sent for the audit.
Sorry, I'm still on the floor.
Yeah, just sorry, yes.
So the chairperson, right, is now asking whether there are any objections to the approval of the administrative fund, right?
Right.
But just now, we've just had a discussion where it sounds to me like the three of you gentlemen are in agreement that line item, in the way that it's currently accounted for, cannot be classified officially as a CSOS fund until we change the way we account for it and we open a separate bank account. So that's why I was raising the question that it sounds like we are all in agreement that that line item is not part of administrative fund, but at the same time we are being asked whether we can adopt the entire financials as an administrative
You're right.
budget. Maybe the chair can clarify.
Okay, so you are correct in saying that. So what we're looking at now is the administrative budget for the year. The CSOS reserve fund is something we will get to once you've approved this, which
Okay, so we'll come
overflows
back
into
to
this,
that.
which means this. If you are short on this year's budget, let's say, as an example, you don't replenish your CSOS reserves, bearing in mind that those reserves have been applied against the dam proofing project. So
Yeah,
your
yeah.
reserves are not intact. They need to be rebuilt. So we can
Yeah.
only rebuild it once we look at the administrative picture before you. And if you say 7%, we might have to take it to 15% to rebuild that CSOS reserves, knowing that we've got another 350,000 rands worth of dam proofing to come through the system. So it's a two-tiered system. So we first look at the administrative side of things. Can the body corporate afford to pay for its day-to-day running for the next year under the current set of levies that we're going to be raising? The answer is yes. And coming out of that, if there's any retained or surpluses, we apply that to the CSOS reserve. And we start replenishing and building the CSOS reserve, which we've been doing over the years. But your dam proofing right now is going to eradicate all of that, unless you raise a special levy. So we need to really talk about the administrative budget first and get to CSOS after this, if that makes sense.
Perfect, I'm answered.
Any objections to the approval of the administrative budget?
Before it's accepted, I want to see a contract from the managing agent on what they're charging us and what every charge is going to be charged for everything that they do. Currently, there is nothing in place. That will have to be looked at before this can carry on. Because I don't know what we're being charged, and it's been confirmed by Craig that there's no contract in place. So we need a contract to be able to see what services they're going to provide and what they're going to charge.
Sorry.
Hold on, Craig, let the owner finish.
Sorry. Okay.
Unit 26, we'll note that on tonight's agenda
Thank
in a
you.
minute, and the managing agent has heard your request. Thank you for that point.
Thank you.
I'm going to record that there's no objections to the approval of the administrative fund, and I'm going to proceed to the next item, which is to consider the financial statements. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but that appears on page 10.
That is
of the
correct.
pack.
Correct.
So does anyone wish to add any comments on the item which is considering the annual financial statements?
Yeah, I picked up an error.
Okay.
Okay, I received an email because I had an inquiry into the security phone. I just want to get my facts here. Okay, it was confirmed that Craig said that he was buying 1 gig of data for the security guards at 275 Rand a month. If you take it over the year, it's 3,300, right? If you have a look what was on the budget, what was spent was 6,553 Rand 72 cents. I don't know how I got to that amount, but I've got this on email. So if there's errors there, I suspect that there's errors somewhere else in the budget. I just haven't had the time to look at everything. But if that's wrong, other things will be wrong. This is what I've got here, and you're recording this, and the owners will know now that there's something wrong here, and everything will have to be looked at.
All right, thank you, sir. We'll minute that
Thank
in
you.
the minute of tonight's meeting. Thank you.
Okay.
The next item is to appoint an auditor to audit the annual financial statements. May I ask who is the current auditor?
The current auditor is Beaumont and Company.
Any objections
Beaumont.
to retaining the services of Beaumont and Company? All right, if the minute can show that there's no objections, so Beaumont and Company will be the auditors for the next financial year. The next item is to, I see on the agenda, is to discuss the arrears. Have we dealt with that in the in the trustees' report or the additional items to discuss about the arrears?
We have. We can bring it up, Sulis, if you can possibly just show the arrears at this stage. Just to quickly speak to that, and that would be that the arrears have been reduced significantly from 160 odd thousand or from 180,000 to close to 80,000, I think. Has been halved almost for the year. So that has been quite an achievement under the current circumstances.
Sorry, if I may.
In fact, we've got your pack.
Does your list of arrears, is it in the pack?
It is indeed, yes.
What page number, please?
Let me take you there. It is page 14.
Now, Craig, perhaps you could just give the forum, because it's really just the one unit that accounts for the vast majority of it. But I know that an agreement was reached. Maybe just tell the people, what's happening with that one. I mean,
Sure.
as I think as it stands there, just to give the people something, because that's obviously the whole chunk of it. The other bits are relatively small, well, relatively, but that 109 was obviously a problem. Maybe you can just give the people, what happened there.
Yeah.
100%. Sulis, could you talk to that? Sulis is the arrears guru.
We've got a CSOS conciliation agreement for that unit that the owner will pay it off monthly. It amounts to about, if I'm not mistaken, 7,500 over and above levies until the arrears is settled. Door number B did settle the account. Door number C was also handed over to CSOS, and then we're still waiting on feedback from them. And then door number D was also sorted.
Ellen, may I ask a question here, please, Mr. Chair? In respect of identifying the owners and arrears, is it incumbent on the body corporate not to display them? Or would...
It's better not to display the names and the flat numbers.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Which I see you haven't. Thank you. All right, the next item on the agenda is conduct rules to be discussed and amended. Just to let you know that if you want to approve conduct rules this evening, it's a special resolution of owners. So you need 75% of the owners present tonight in number and in PQ to agree. But you also needed to have given 30 days notice of the meeting. So if you have given that, then we can proceed. If you haven't, then we'll need to look at if we can proceed to approve the conduct rules. So are you looking to discuss it or also to approve the amended conduct rules?
A bit of both. So the correct date or time frame has been given. Notice correctly has been given. Now it just needs to be discussed in respect of legalities in terms of the changes required.
If I may here, our conduct rules are quite outdated, and there's certain things that concessions were given for that aren't in the conduct rules. So that's the kind of vibe that we're looking at tonight.
Sorry, none of the owners were approached to see what conduct rules they would like to put in. It was just sent out. None of the owners were contacted. Luckily, I insisted that I attend every trustees meeting, so I knew about it. But every other owner is left in the dark. And I feel that's unfair that only a few people get to decide what rules come in, because it's not going to accommodate everyone. We don't know what everybody else's experiences are here. So we should actually get a full input before the trustee, before we change the rules from every single owner, because all the owners were never approached.
With all due respect, that is what this discussion tonight is about. We put forward ideas. I did put your ideas into the document. And tonight we get to say, do you agree? Don't you agree? What else would you like to add? That was my thinking on this. I didn't do it vindictively or with trying to go above anyone. We all here together to determine what our community must look like.
Right.
And that's
So-
what tonight.
That's very nice to hear.
Right, thank you. Can I just
Wonderful
ask for
words.
silence for a moment? Sorry, can I have silence for a moment? Does any owner wish to comment on any specific items in the conduct rules? I trust you've had a good look at it. It looks like a track document. So it looks like certain items, and I stand under correction, are being removed from the conduct rules, and certain items are being added into the conduct rules. So does anyone have a specific item in the rules they'd like to discuss?
Yes.
Quite a short
absolutely.
set of rules. It's 23 rules. So please go ahead, refer us to the rule and just open up the discussion on the relevant rule.
Well, I would like to start off by saying that I propose that these rules are not discussed tonight and that they are referred back to the trustees so that they can do a proper job, because the grammar in the whole thing is atrocious. As Daryl, the LM34 person, has just admitted, these rules are outdated and somebody needs to sit down and do a proper job here. But my main objection is in the last section. The Honourable Trustee from LM34 has just said she's done nothing vindictive, but I'd like her to explain how she says you need to be a registered owner of a section of the scheme to be a trustee. That is vindictive. Absolutely. She's trying to eliminate people from becoming trustees. And that clause is against the rules of the Sectional Title Act, and you can't pass that. And I object very strongly to the fact that STS, who is supposed to be a professional organization and should advise here, that they allow a rule like that to be brought up at an AGM when it is clearly illegal. So you haven't got a hope of passing this tonight, because you need a high percentage of people approving it, and that's not going to happen. You are not, you know, the Unit 34 has just made a little speech about how dedicated she is and how she's not vindictive. But her whole life is about being vindictive against certain people at the complex.
So I'm going to stop you there. Please do not indicate certain people, and please be cautious of defamation. Can I go to the next person? Ian has his hand up.
Ellen, may I talk to that?
Yeah, in a moment.
May I ask you a question about that? I do realize that
All right.
is a rule that is very open to debate. Am I correct in saying that if 75% of the people here tonight agree with that rule, it will be passed?
No.
Sorry,
I'm
hold on,
asking
Ian.
Ellen, sorry.
That's the rule saying that to be a trustee, you have to be an owner.
Yes.
I don't think that could be passed this evening. You would need to amend your management rules, because that would contradict the current management rules, the prescribed management rules.
Fabulous. I accept that 100%, and I do own up to the fact that that was my input, although most of the stuff that was in the amended conduct rules was collaborative. That is my input, and I will tell you why, just so that we all understand it wasn't vindictive. I plan on making this an investment property soon, and I would not like to have, and I don't know the owners here present who do rent out their properties. And LM26, I know you rent out a few properties, so maybe you can tell me if this is how things go or not, because I've never rented out a property. But I am not going to itemize how my bill is split, whether it's electricity levy, whatever. So my opinion on this was that you've got people who are trustees deciding how money is spent, who don't know how much money has been paid towards levies and maintenance and what is done. That was my opinion. That was the only reason I added it. But if it's not legal, I'm happy to accept that.
Thank you. No, thank you for that. Yes, you would need to change your management rules.
Can I ask which rule?
Hold on, please, sir. Management Rule 21 says a trustee need not be an owner. Sorry, Management Rule 6 in brackets 1 says a trustee need not be an owner. So you would need to amend your management rules, which can be done at another owners meeting, but you can't change it in your conduct rules. You need to amend your management rules. I want to close that discussion and move to Ian.
Sorry, can I just say something? It doesn't matter what we decide, if you just accept the rules or not. It still has to go to CSOS, and they still look at it. And if it's wrong, they'll send it back, and they'll say you need to adjust it. I've gone through this process. I know exactly how it works. And it takes months and months and months.
Thank you. Unit 16, Anne, please go ahead.
I almost forgot what I wanted to say here. Yeah, I mean, my thing, I mean, I would definitely support the fact that a trustee must be an owner, because, I mean, I don't see why people who are not digging into their pockets to pay the levy, which in some cases is quite considerable, have a say in how we spend our money. And I'm talking about tenants, I'm talking about proxies. And I just want to say to Mr. De Aarde, because I think on the agenda we do, you know, he's talking about changing, you know, getting hit up about changing the rules, and it's illegal. But I would like, I'd like the forum to keep that in mind when we come to his suggestion about changing the quorum for nomination votes, which is also stipulated in the Act. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Unit 32, please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Firstly, I'd like to just highlight that also as a current trustee, it did hit me as a bit of a surprise that we had trustees who were not owners. And regardless of what the current rules say, I'm one of the people who definitely believe that a trustee should be somebody who is carrying the same financial weight in terms of levies that the owners are carrying. So I also support it, but I do take the note that it might take a little bit extra effort to change that rule.
Absolutely.
So I just want to make sure that it mustn't be seen as just an individual suggestion. I think it's more than one person who's in favor of the rule. And then I had a question, but I think my hand may have been missed at the time. Unit 21 raised 2 points which I felt were contradictory. Okay, let me just. I've got visitors here. Sorry about that.
Okay, you take a break. We'll come back to you. Unit 38, please proceed.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to comment on the amended rule for laundry, number 8.1, page, I think so, slide number 24 of 35. I'm just getting the what do I say, the practicality around the rule. And the reason for that is anyone who works at an office will not be able to then do any laundries, because it's from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. on weekdays and nothing on public holidays. So I'm just trying to get clarity on the practicality of that rule. Thank you.
Thank you. Ian, Unit 26.
Yeah, just that thing on the, you know what I mean? I have to give out proxies. I own lots of properties and I have to give out proxies, and sometimes they get on the board. It's impossible. I had meetings yesterday. I got meetings today. It's impossible. It's easy when you've got one, but when you've got multiple, it throws a spanner in the works. It's easy when you got one, but I tell you when you got multiple, then you have to give out proxies, and you hope the person. I still am responsible for paying the levies. So if I give a proxy to someone else, I expect them. I'm going to give it to somebody that's reliable, that's going to make the correct decision, whichever the property they manage. I think so. It's easy when you got one property. I'm sure other people that have got multiple properties will understand.
Okay, thank you, Richard. Unit 21.
I fail to see how you can not allow a proxy of an owner not to be a trustee. especially in my case, where the owner is my son who lives in Singapore. Now, how is he going to be able to look after his unit or become a trustee if he lives in Singapore? That is why I am appointed a trustee, and I have every right to be, I've been appointed a proxy, and I have every right to become a trustee because my son and I essentially own this unit together, although it's in his name. But I look after it. My son has been in Singapore for 20 years, and I've looked after the unit all this time. And there's no way you can tell me that I have no interest in the complex. I run all the bills. I do everything for this unit. I've renovated it. And you tell me that I can't be a trustee. LM34, you're out of line. You are vindictive. You are harassing.
I'm gonna stop you there. Please, can you mute Unit 21? Hashim, please proceed. Okay, let's go to Unit 38, Ibrahim.
Ellen, you haven't answered my question.
Apologies, that was the end.
Unit 38, go ahead.
It was a lazy hand. I just put it down, no?
Ellen, may I speak?
Thank you. Let's go to Unit 16, Anne.
I
raised my hand, but
query about the laundry. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
You know, the thing is that having laundry out on weekends and public holidays, it's just aesthetically displeasing. You know, when you've got visitors coming, or you know, people are home for the weekend, you might be selling a unit or whatever. It's just, you know, I don't think we want to be a complex that allows laundry to be visible 24/7. And I think that we've been quite reasonable keeping it to Monday to Fridays within sort of the normal day and excluding public holidays and weekends. So that's just my point. And then just to Unit 26's comment about owning multiple properties and such, like, well, I mean, that's all very well, but that's one person, quite frankly. I think most people here are single owners. Okay, I've got a few here, but I don't think that's any reasonable rationale for kind of saying that, you know, proxies should be, you know, given the right to be trustees and have a large say in what happens at the complex, where most of us, you know, are very heavily invested. That's my input there.
Thank you. Hashim, Unit 45.
Hi, Ellen. Considering the point of proxy, I've been a tenant, I'm a tenant at the complex. So the charges that go through, I accommodate it, I pay for it. I've been a trustee for numerous years. It seems that point is aimed at me because I might be the only tenant who is a trustee on the board currently. But I think I've done a little in my time being a trustee, asking the right questions and trying to protect the interest. And we've built up a community now in the complex where it's beneficial for all owners, tenants, or residents to communicate openly on a WhatsApp group. And you can check up with all the owners who are on the group, how easy have we made it so that everybody can communicate within the complex. And I think creating that community environment that was preached before, now it's coming to show. So I have proxy on the unit. Similarly, the owner of the unit has given me proxy for multiple years, and I've done everything in my power to do better for the complex. It might not seem that way to the other owners, but I'm sure it will come to light. I'd like to make a point. I'd like to make a point on the laundry as well. The laundry states between 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. on weekdays. The point that Ibrahim was making was, if you work in corporate and you come home at 5 o'clock in the evening, what happens to your washing? Is there any functionality around that?
Yeah, we understand that point. Unit 5. You're still muted.
Good evening, thank you. Sorry, it seems like we're jumping around, so I will make the few points that I have. I think under maintenance, and it's more a practical thing. Sorry, I'm new, well, old but new, even back in Summertown. Under maintenance, just a question maybe more than anything else. If an owner wants to do the garage door himself, him or herself, but there's no, I don't know, maybe I just don't understand the background to it, or I don't understand what is required. So the question I would like to ask, do we want all the garage doors to look the same or not? Maybe that's my departure question.
So is that related to the conduct rules approval or not? Or can that be addressed by you with the trustees after tonight's meeting?
I can address it later. It's just a question I have, but yeah, I can do it later.
If we can just keep the discussion to the conduct rules.
Sure. Under 10.5, I think that rule leave a lot open for interpretation. Residents, more than one, can assist in maintaining the garden proximity to their unit in a neat and tidy fashion and will be assisted by the gardener. I'm not sure, because if there's in most of the units here, multiple units looking over the same garden. So if one person go and do certain gardening and your neighbors are not happy about it, I want to try and get to a solution where we say, maybe this need to be more tightened and not open for interpretation, and where owners go for one another because they disagree with what the other person is doing. Maybe when a group of units oversee a garden, that those group of units get together and decide how their portion of the garden they look over will look like, and maybe just, I don't know if that's a workable solution. But this
Agreed.
one,
A civil discussion will always overrule, in my opinion.
no, I agree, but I think we have seen here that it's not happening, and so yeah.
I think what I would propose is that the residents of that particular area need to agree on what is planted, etc. So for those particular areas where it's relevant to, that all of the residents that overlook that garden need to agree with each other. Yeah, I think maybe that is missing from the rule, the way that it reads.
Can I interrupt and just ask the trustees and the chairman? Would you like to proceed with the motion on tonight's agenda to approve the conduct rules, or would you like to take tonight's comments and invite all the owners to submit further comments and address them in the rules, and then convene another meeting to approve the rules, or circulate a round robin resolution via email to approve the rules?
Can we speak?
Yeah, go ahead.
Ellen,
in my opinion, I think that we need to take. Sorry, about five of us.
Okay, Unit 34, go ahead.
Okay, in my opinion, I think everyone does need input. We all live in this complex, and we need to be we need to be unified. I would like everyone to agree on the rules, but I would like to propose these rules and see how many of them are voted for.
Okay. Would anyone like to make any further comments, or can I proceed with a vote on the approval or not of the conduct rules? So if you still have a final comment to make, if you can please keep it short, and then we will vote to approve or not the conduct rules. Glenn, Unit 50, go ahead.
Yeah, Abraham, and just in terms of the laundry, I also work in corporate. In fact, I work in Victoria. I don't do my laundry during the week, but I have plenty of time to do it in the evening or early in the morning. And I've never had a problem. And, Hashem spent quite a lot of time fixing up the lines down at the laundry area for what it is. So I think what we're saying is we don't want the laundry hanging on the balconies at weekends because, look, I don't hang mine on the balcony anyway. I'm too embarrassed. Some people are not. But so if, for example, you did, you can do your laundry. There's nothing stopping you from running your machine. But all we're saying is then go and put the laundry on the line down at the laundry area. The rule specifically says just don't hang it on the balcony because in my view, it makes it look like a low-cost housing project, just an opinion. So just keep it off there. So you can use the lines, and Hash spent a lot of time fixing the lines, so you can do your laundry Saturday, Sunday, anytime. Just go and hang it down on the lines, and then I think we allow the lines, but just not the balconies.
Thank you, Glenn. Brandon, 37.
Thank you very much. I'd like to forward the motion for having the rules sent out to everyone so everyone can read through it and then to have another meeting to separately discuss the rules, because I think there are a lot of people who have issues with the rules, and I do understand we do need to wrap up this meeting. So that would be my suggestion. I do also have some concerns, but I'll just summarize it to 2 points quickly. With the laundry issue, we do have a baby, and sometimes he vomits and we get through 5 changes of clothes in one day and we have to do laundry. It's a bit unpredictable. So what I would maybe suggest is to not restrict the hours during the week. Just say during the week, hang out your washing when you need to. And then I understand the concern about it looking untidy over weekends, but possibly just to come to a compromise, perhaps you could say on Saturday mornings from 8 until 12, we could hang out laundry. I just want to put that out there as a suggestion. And then at least, when people intend in the afternoon, the laundry will be down. But if people work long shifts so they can only do laundry on a Saturday morning, at least they can hang it up to dry. That's just one suggestion from my side. Then the second thing that I'd like to bring up, in terms of hiring the clubhouse, there are no rules stated in the conduct rules, which say how many people you can have, what time you can have the party, anything like that. I know there have been a few times I've wanted to hire the clubhouse, and a few times it has been rejected. And it seems that every time it's rejected for different reasons and there's no consistency. So I would just like to have it clearly written in writing how many people you're allowed to have at an event at the clubhouse, what kind of event it is, and just any rules clarifying that, just so that everyone is treated fairly and equally. Thank you.
Thank you. Richard, 21.
Yeah, I hate to say this, but these rule amendments are specifically directed at certain people. And I object to them completely. And we need to refer these rules back to the trustees to get them to have a proper committee to sort out these rules with decent grammar and make sure they are legal, and that the items discussed in each rule are in the correct category. At the moment, it's a terrible mess, and they need to be referred back, and they need not be discussed here, because we could go on about these rules the whole night. The second point I want to make is that, for instance, the rule that they're suggesting about people working in the garden closest to them. I'd like to point out that the garden that is in question here, there's a certain gentleman who's lived here for 25 years or more, and he's never done anything in the garden. It's only when I start trying to fix that garden that they try to stop me. Now, that garden had nothing in it except what I planted there 2 years ago. I planted indigenous...
Please, why don't we stop this conversation, because there's legal issues around this.
Mr. Chairman, would you kindly ask the honourable representative from 34 not to interrupt me? I didn't interrupt her, and I'd like to finish.
21, just keep your comments strictly to the conduct rules, please.
The only plants that exist in that area that they are fighting about are plants that I put there 2 years ago. I planted indigenous plants like aloes and agapanthus.
What is your point about the conduct rules?
There should be an appointed person among the trustees who's in charge of the gardens, and he should coordinate what's happening. You can't have every Tom, Dick and Harry being appointed for this and that, because there's no garden actually in the complex. Who's going to look after
Richard,
the garden?
I think we understand. I think we understand your points. Anything else you want to add? Okay, thank you. All right. I see 4 more hands up. Please, after these 4 hands, if we can vote and then move to the next item.
Can I just say, you muted me before I was finished. I want to repeat that I want these rules referred back to the trustees to be neatened up and tidied up and have the grammar fixed and make them legal. I want the rules not discussed any further, and we refer them back to get fixed.
Thank you. Monkey 32.
Yeah, I think I don't think we're in a position to propose voting on the rules.
100%.
I think it would be quite pointless because we know we don't have the 75% anyway. I think the trustees had having experienced a couple of situations, proposed to change some of the rules, right? And it's part of the running of the complex. And I think then we decided to bring it here so that we can give owners opportunity to deliberate. And I think so far, a lot of owners have given comments and proposals as to how to proceed. But in my opinion, I don't think we should we should be voting on the issue of adopting any changes. Rather, maybe we should try to reach a resolution as to what should we do in the next year, or in the next year, if in terms of reviewing the rules. Yeah, thank you.
Unit 38.
Sorry guys, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so yeah, I just wanted to voice what I put in the chat there. I think we should leave this for this session and take it offline, have a series of sessions and go line by line, rule by rule, clean it out, and then get comments, update it, and then vote. And that's how we go through the entire set of rules. And once we're comfortable with that, might take about a year or so, but it's fine. Once it's there, it's there. Then we can, based on specific rule amendments going forward, we can just discuss the 1 or 2 rules that need to be discussed. Thanks.
Unit 24/30.
I just want to say we've been on this meeting for so long. We have not discussed or wrapped up anything. We're talking about the laundry. We're talking about this. Can we take it point by point? I say let's start putting things to bed. I mean, people, if they don't take the time to actually come onto the AGM tonight, why do we go back and give people more time to mull over and regurgitate everything? I say, let's take it point by point and get things sorted and resolved. And Alan, you should have charged by the hour. You would have made way more money.
Unit 16. Unit 16, go ahead. Okay. We're going to vote on the approval or not of the conduct rules as attached to the pack. It is on the agenda. We need what's called a special resolution to approve them at 75% of the units here tonight in number and 75% in PQ. So all those in favor of approving the conduct rules as attached to the pack this evening, if you'll please give a thumbs up. All those in favor of approving the conduct rules, if you'll please give a thumbs up. And we'll need 75% in number and in PQ.
Doesn't get there.
Ellen, is there a thumbs down perhaps that you can put in?
Sorry, say again.
I see there's only thumbs up on it. So when you're doing the vote, is there a thumbs down for when we don't want to accept it?
Hisham, I think if you don't put a
everyone
thumbs up, it's taken as thumbs down.
Yeah, if you don't put a thumbs up, then it's taken as a thumbs down. So if you approve,
for your insight.
If you approve the conduct rules, then please put a thumbs up.
Sorry, I mean, just to be fair on that kind of system, I mean, just because you're not putting a thumbs up doesn't necessarily mean it's a thumbs down. You know, abstention is a legitimate thing. So, yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's do it both ways. Raise your thumbs if you approve, please. Okay. We have unit number 50.
And then
We have
I've got a
unit
question.
22.
Rosalind
Sorry, hold
from
on.
number 5.
Hold on, please. If you approve the conduct rules, please put a thumbs up. So Lisa, have you managed to count all of those? Because I see them going on and off on my side.
The
Mine's
people
doing
that
that as-
are that
Sorry,
have
Hashim?
asked questions about the.
So Lisa, can you hear me?
Alan, I can hear you, and I think you're having problems with your speaker. I've got
Yes.
Anne Alexandra, Anne's units 14, 15, and 16, Alexandra, unit 39, Glenn, unit 50, and Ross, unit 5, who's got a thumbs up.
And Daryl, unit 34.
And Daryl, I've got you as well, sorry. So that is
The
not
unit-
75%, no.
Unit 22, have you got?
Unit, who is unit number 22, sorry?
Sean.
Sean.
Sorry, just a question. Sorry, Chair, just a question. We two people and one PC here with proxies. So
Have you voted in favor of the conduct rules?
yeah, it's 2 votes.
Unit 5
And
unit
25.
29.
Okay, thank you. So Lise, have you got all the votes in favor of approval of the rules?
Helen, give me a minute or two here. I just want to consider all the proxies as well. Unit 5 and 25. Anne's got 14, 15, and 16. And then also unit 42. Okay. Sean is unit number 22. Okay, sorry, I just want to calculate.
I'd like to say that if these rules get passed exactly as they are, I will take it up with CSOS.
Oh, there he goes. We're meeting him. Who's in charge?
So Lise, are you nearly done?
Sorry, Alan, just give me another minute. I just needed to create a new spreadsheet.
Yeah.
We have 29%.
Great, we can move on.
It's in favor of approving the conduct rules.
Yes. Which
Okay.
one?
All right. In case there's any abstentions, let's just do it let's do it this way. Are there any people who wish to abstain from the votes
Alan, you said
on
you can
the?
only approve it if it's 75%, so I don't think you should.
Yeah, wasting your time.
If only 29% voted for it, I think we should carry on to a next line item.
100%, that's the way.
Perfect, thank you. Next item.
Hold on, please. So at least 29% have approved it.
Yes.
Okay, all right. So the conduct rules are not approved at tonight's meeting.
Perfect, thank you.
All right, we're going to move to
well done.
Determination of the number of trustees. How many trustees are there presently?
Five.
I think 5.
Six.
We're
Yeah,
not
is
sure
everybody-
if the chair lady is a trustee or not because she resigned. We'll have
Sorry, just while we're speaking about that, Alan, if you may clarify, we have a trustees WhatsApp group, and obviously just to discuss trustee stuff because we elected. If you share names, anything out of that trustees group, is it legal or not? Information shared on the group.
Okay, let's rather discuss that separately. I just want to stick strictly to the agenda.
Okay,
So
no problem.
Currently, we have, as I understand it, 5 trustees. It's normally recommended to have an odd number. So if there's a tie in the votes, you can have a deciding vote, an odd number. Any objections to retaining or making the number of trustees 5? Any objections to having 5 trustees?
Yes, I think there should be more.
Right. Does anyone else think there should be more?
Well, why don't we see how many trustees we come up with, and if it's, and then we can just decide what number we come up with.
From what I understand, there's 14 people being nominated as trustees tonight. So there's more than enough trustees who want to stand. So I've suggested 5. Richard has suggested more. Any other proposals for how many trustees you should have?
Well, before we discuss that, maybe it's worthwhile looking at the
And the order of the meeting says that first you determine the number and then you vote in the people. So I just want to fix the number first. Any objections then to having the number at 7 trustees to accommodate unit 21, 7 trustees?
As long as it's odd.
Okay. All right. So we're going to approve that we're going to have 7 trustees for the body
I think
corporate.
let's make 9. As discussed at the last meeting, the meeting that we had as owners and stuff, Glenn suggested what would be awesome was if you had 2 assisting on a specific profile, like maintenance, security, those kind of things. So if one is not available, the other one can come in and put his notes through. In that way, it doesn't bundle up and all the trustees are involved in all the decision making. So it is specified, somebody assist with relevant profiles, If that is possible, then I think the more trustees you go with will give everybody the opportunity to shine.
Anyone else wish to state anything else on the number of trustees?
I think 9's a good number. I think more
Any
than that.
objections? Go ahead, number 37. Okay. Any objections to having 9 trustees?
Objections from my side.
Sorry, say again, ma'am.
No objections from Unit 37. I agree with an odd number, and I think 9 makes sense.
Okay, so the number of 9 has been determined as the number of trustees, and we're now going to look at the trustees that have been nominated, that have accepted their nominations, and then we're going to have the opportunity to vote in 9 trustees. Craig and Sulies, am I correct that you received 14 nominations?
That is correct, yes.
Okay.
So 5 would have to be eliminated.
All right. Is there a summary page you can share? Or do you want to tell us the trustees' names and if they're an owner or tenant and what flat number? And then I'd ask everyone to please write them down. And then we will, once everyone's heard all 14, then we'll go person by person and see how many votes each person gets. And then the 9 trustees that get the most votes will be elected.
Sorry, Alan, may I ask, how many votes do you need to, what percentage do you need to become a trustee legally?
So we have 9 positions. So it's going to be the 9 trustees who get the most votes.
Thank you.
And it's run by PQ, not number.
Yeah. All right. So Lise and Craig, can you share with us, please?
Craig, can you share the names with us?
Sure. I'll do that. Okay, so these are the names. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
All right, so it is Richard, Daryl, Anne, Glenn, Onke, Ian, Lizette, Hashim, Ardre, Simon M, Ibrahim, Lee, Ainsley, and Stan. So there are 14 names, and the forum has elected 9. So what? Yeah, okay, so
Audrey, you have a question? Go ahead.
Thank you. Thanks, Ellen. I just want to find out if somebody's been nominated and they don't want to stand, can they ask for their name to be removed?
Of course.
Yeah, Suzy, can you please remove my name? I don't want to stand again, so you can remove my name from the list.
Yeah, mine as well, please.
Sorry, and Daryl McDonald as well. Sorry, my business comes first at the moment.
Okay, so it's Audrey, Glenn, and Daryl that must be removed.
Thank you.
Craig, how many names are left?
Can I ask a question here? I see a couple of names there that I don't even know who they are. Could we explain who is Simon, who is Lee, who is Ainsley?
Okay, Craig will take us through that now. Craig, have you removed those names of the people who don't wish to stand any longer?
I am busy with that now. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 individuals versus the 9 that we require. So that's what we have at the moment. So it may well, a suggestion would be everybody vote individually per individual going forward. So in other words, Richard, as an example, how many people vote for him, and we'll apply the PQ to that nomination and that election. And would then obviously be called up, and again, a nomination needs to be taken or vote in favor of. And then Onke, Ian, Lizette, etc., until such times we then eliminate by number the trustees to 9.
Okay, but my question again is, I don't know who I'm voting for because I don't know who Simon M is. I don't know who Lee is. I don't know who Ainsley is. I know all the others. So can we have some kind of election here so that the people say who they are, why they want to be trustees, and so on? You know, I'm voting for a total stranger. There are 3 strangers there that I've never heard of. I haven't heard them tonight.
Let's do that. Richard, if you're present, will you please state your name if you're an owner or tenant or neither?
Okay, you're asking me first. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much for the opportunity. I am a proxy for my son who owns Unit 21. And as I've explained, he lives in Singapore, and I've been looking after this unit since about 2007. I renovated the unit. I helped Stan at one stage to fix the stairs, which the trustees refused to fix because Stan couldn't get his car into the garage. I helped Stan in that case, and we fought for the trustees for 4 years before eventually they allowed me to fix the stairs myself. I became a trustee at the stage when they were doing the last painting project, because I found out that the trustees had no form of communication of who was liaising with the contractor. They just let him go on his own on an 800,000
I'm going to ask you just to keep it. I'm going to ask you to keep it brief.
Sure.
So thank you very much. All right, Anne.
My name is Anne Hutchison. I own 14, 15 and 16 at Lamontan. Yeah, I mean, I think enough said. I don't think we need to go to the past or to start, glorifying ourselves. Anyone who's a trustee is there for the good of the complex, the good of every person that lives there, and that's why I'm here.
Thank you. Oinki.
Thank you. I'm Onke. I'm the owner of Unit 32, which, by the way, I must apologize. I had said 31 when we were introducing ourselves. So I'm an owner and I don't live at the complex. I've got a tenant living in the unit. I am currently a trustee or an outgoing trustee from the previous year, and I was or am the leader of the project leader for the waterproofing project as well. I think it would have been the easy thing to do to say I'm so overloaded with other responsibilities, life responsibilities, but I fully concur with Anne that at the end of the day, as much as it's a hectic duty and a heavy load, at the end of the day, we're all trying to do our best for the interest of the complex. So I'm willing to stand again. Thank you.
Thank you. Ian?
Yeah, okay, I'm only a new owner. I've been here only a couple of months. I'm a driver in driving down costs and getting a community together and getting the complex right and pulling people together to do the right thing, to make everything livable and quite easy for people. And what I heard tonight about people getting rejected at the clubhouse, that's actually quite shocking. I don't know who made that decision, but I believe that it must come down to a trustee decision and not a managing agent decision. Because the way I see it, that's exactly what's happening here. There's too much interference, outside interference, and actually the people here are not being. You can't approach anyone because you have to go through the managing agent. It should be a direct contact to the trustees. Listen, I got this problem, and you can get it sorted out, and it won't be a problem. I'm a big driver on that.
Lizette?
I'm Lizette, and our family is made up of Matthew, Manny, and myself. We own unit number 24, unit number 30. We bought a unit with an internal waterfall showing that we really want to be here. We want to be part of the community. And yes, that's us.
Shim? Shim? Let's go to Simon. Oh, go ahead, Hashim.
I'm Hashim. I'm a tenant at Lamontan 45. I've been a trustee for quite a few years. There has been a lot of changes over time. I'm hoping for the new year we can improve on what we have achieved previously and open up the community as discussed by Ian, Lizette, Richard, whoever is keen on building the same community we're looking at. And most importantly, is the fairness running in the complex. So with this coming forward, let's think before we make our decisions on voting, because it needs to be democratic and it needs to be fair for every person living in the complex. Thank you.
Simon M.
Thank you, Chair. I'm Simon Middle, unit number 5, married to Ross, who's the owner. I have a proxy tonight. Yeah, we moved back after a long time back into Lamontan. We enjoy it here. It's a beautiful place. The view is definitely an asset to everyone. From here, all our friends love it here. We spent a lot of money in upgrading our unit recently because we trust the area here. I think for me, the important thing is that trustees doesn't own the property and the money. Yeah, it is the owner's property and money that is looked after. A trustee is a servant. I think sometimes we must step above personal things and serve all owners equally at the same time with total respect. That's more or less my best summary I can give.
Ibrahim. Ibrahim.
Okay, evening again, guys. I'm a tenant here at Lamontan for 3 years. So 1 year at Unit 8, another 2 years now at Unit 38. Architectural technologist by qualification. By profession, I'm working for a bank and doing construction for over 10 years. And that's my background. I'm here to assist the community, be it in a capacity of a trustee or not. Thank you.
Lee.
Lee and Ainsley is not in the meeting, and I don't think Stan is here as well, Ellen. But they have been nominated.
Have they accepted? Have they accepted?
They have accepted. Both Lee, Ainsley, and Stan have accepted, yes.
Okay, well, if somebody who nominated them would like to tell us who Lee and Ainsley are, I know who Stan is. I'd like to say Stan is 90 years old in December, coming up, and he's...
Sorry, guys, if I may, Lee owns the flat above me, and he is an architect, and as Anki, I think, will concur, he has been fabulous in the waterproofing project. Sadly, because of his business interests, he couldn't be here tonight. We were hoping because it was virtually could, but he couldn't. So that's Lee. And Ainsley owns the flat below me. And also very big in the building, dedicated to the complex, has a fabulous tenant. That's who they are.
And why are they not at the meeting tonight? You would think if they want to be elected, they would put the time in to attend.
Possibly because they live out of South Africa.
With all due respect, I can't. Will you please not unmute me and allow me to say something?
Go ahead, Richard.
I have been continuously vilified because I don't live in the complex and because I'm a proxy. I live 5 minutes away from the complex, and I'm there just about every second day to come and work in the garden that I created out in the street. It's the only garden that actually looks like anything in the complex, and I did the whole thing. Now, you want to now make a trustee of somebody who doesn't live in the country, but I'm not allowed to be a trustee because I'm a proxy, and I live here and I visit the complex almost every day. the double
Thank you, Richard.
standards.
Craig, would you mind just sharing the list of the nominated trustees again?
Ellen, can I suggest one more?
Go ahead, Hashim.
I think Jonathan. I'm not sure if Jonathan would like to stand, but Jonathan has.
It's too late. It's too late to nominate any further trustees because we have enough
okay.
to fulfill our number. So sorry about that. Before we proceed to vote, is there anyone who wishes to object to a certain person on the list being a trustee without making any defamatory statements? Please keep it factual as to why you believe a certain person should not be a trustee. Please keep your points brief as well.
I withdraw. It will be totally defamatory, so I withdraw. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to object to any person on the list being a trustee? Right, no objections.
No, just hang on a second. I was muted. I would like to object to Anne Hutchison being a trustee. And the reason is
just please keep it factual and not emotional.
Yes. All right. Well,
And,
the normal greeting that I get from Anne Hutchison when I come to a live meeting is she says to me that if she had her way, I wouldn't be allowed through the door. Now, if that's supposed to be the way to win friends and influence people, then she fails miserably. I'd also like to point out that she sent out a note after Ian initiated a meeting of people who had concerns. We had a
Sorry,
meeting
how is
last
this
week.
not defamatory?
Richard, please keep it factual, not emotional or your personal feelings about her.
So Anne Hutchison resigned, and I don't know how she got back, but obviously she sent out a note to all the owners saying that basically the meeting that we had should be disregarded. In other words, you know, I could go on and on about this person. To put in
Yeah, Richard, I think you've said what you have to say. Anyone else wish to raise any objections to any of the people being a trustee?
Chair, yes, number 5.
Would you mind sharing the list, Craig?
Yes.
Go ahead, please.
Okay, thanks. I have
5.
Now,
which column are you referring to?
Richard. I have a concern, and it's factual. Since the pre-AGM meeting that was held last Thursday and tonight, Richard went and he wrote a provocative letter to my father-in-law, Stan, in number 25. People can see the letter, it's here. There's all sorts of things said. I'm just concerned if we have a trustee that is willing to provoke and to bully another person.
Okay.
It's just evidence.
What do you mean by
evidence?
What do you mean by
evidence is here? You're welcome to see it. Anyone can see it.
Thank
I
you.
think that's all I want to say.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, if I may.
Let's go to unit 34.
Sorry, if I may, I now realize that I actually have factual information. I also opposed to Richard. He came in and against the laws of the complex, removed plants.
Weeds.
After being told, please not to. Please to discuss it with Unit 25 first. He still went ahead and removed them. And when we fined him for doing that, he threatened another person. So I think
Thank
this
you.
kind of bullying and manipulation is not what I want to run my million rand.
Okay, unit 14, 15, and 16.
They were weeds.
Sorry, Richard, no chance to respond. Unit 14, 15, and 16. Okay. Okay, let's proceed. Okay, there's some background noise there, Unit 14. Craig, let's proceed
Sorry,
to vote
I
on.
got a WhatsApp from Anne, 14, 15, and 16. She's having sound issues, but she says she objects to Richard as well.
Thank you. Let's go to the trustee sheet, Craig. Craig, yeah. All right, so the first trustee in column I to vote on is Richard. So all those in favor of Richard being a trustee, if you can please raise your hands.
Sorry, Chair. I'm sorry. I have a question now. I'm confused. Please.
Go ahead.
So once some owners have voiced objections, was it only just for noting so that people are aware when they vote?
Yes,
or
it was
is there
only for
another
information purposes, so people have some information to vote.
Okay, thank you.
Pleasure. Let's go back to the list, Craig. And all those, or rather don't share the list, so we can all see whose hands are raised. All those in favor of Richard being one of the 9 trustees, if you can please raise your hand. So, Lise, can you see the full screen?
I can. Okay, let me just have a look here. Okay.
Sorry, could I just request that we put a thumbs up rather than raising a hand? Otherwise, if people have a question.
Sorry, I meant a thumbs up.
That's maybe a better
Okay,
idea.
thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so Ian is voting for Richard. I've got you. I've got Brandon.
Sorry, if I may request that we keep the votes anonymous.
Okay, noted, thank you.
May I just ask, I mean, how are we, if it is anonymous, how are we doing this anonymous thing? Because, I mean, you raise a hand, everyone can see.
100%.
Sorry, I see that.
So what's the
I would
procedure?
rather it be anonymous because of the bullying tactics that I've been exposed to, but let's go with the process.
Sure.
Okay, I've got Richard's vote.
We all get subject.
All those in favor of Anne being one of the 9 trustees, please put a thumbs up.
We have 2 votes.
Okay, sorry, can I just go through it again? Okay. Put it back. It goes away.
Yeah. Craig, where was that system that you've used last time? That was a brilliant system because it was anonymous and then everyone just voted and your system collated all the votes.
Yeah, can we do that polling system?
Sure. The problem with that was it's a one man, one vote system where Zoom doesn't have the weighted PQ environment. So that was the problem. So if we had to agree on a one person, one vote, then that would work. But because
No, I think we need weighted.
It has to be weighted, and Zoom doesn't do that.
So that it
Zoom
suits
can't do
everybody.
weighted.
Actually,
Like
Craig,
if
I mean,
it put in 1 unit, 1 vote. Now it's changed again because it suits.
It's the law. It's the law. It's the law.
The voting is on
So
PQ.
similarly, Ellen is the attorney who met with those trustees before, similarly. And it's a mere coincidence.
The voting is on
Craig,
PQ.
I think for practical
the larger
purposes-
your unit, the larger your votes.
Yeah.
Sorry, which trustee are we voting on now?
Sorry,
Can I be honest?
Chair,
Sorry. Hi. I mean, there's I think we're having technical issues because, I mean, at the end of the day, the thumbs keep on disappearing from here, at least on my side. I've heard someone else say that too. I'm not really sure if votes, like say, if my votes have been accounted for. I understand that we're voting on PQ, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's still one hand being raised. So if there is a better system from a technical point of view, could we please maybe consider that? Because right now this doesn't seem that like it's working technically.
Okay.
Craig, I think go to the one man, one vote, because for practical purposes, the units aren't that much different. Yes, I've got the biggest unit here, but go to the one man, one vote. If there's a tie break, then defer to PQ. So, I mean, for intensive purposes and practical purposes, the PQ is not particularly relevant if it's a clear majority. If it comes down to a, there's 2 votes for 2 people, then you could defer to PQ as the tiebreaker. But I think let's go to that system that you used last time, because I think it's just anonymous and it seems to be working. Because I agree with some of the guys. I also put my hand up and then it disappears a second or 2 later. So let's go to the one man, one vote and use the PQ as a tiebreaker.
Alan, can we go there?
Craig. Sorry, everybody. It seems that if you raise your hand, that actually stays up. It's the thumbs up that's disappearing. Celise, do you agree with that?
Yes, agreed. Agreed.
Okay.
Yes.
So we're voting on Anne as the second proposed trustee. If you can please raise your hand if you're in favor of Anne being a trustee.
Okay, just again.
Could we maybe just review the votes after each thing or something? Because I mean, I don't know if the votes have been counted thus far.
So Lise is doing the vote counts, and the vote will be announced before the meeting ends.
Okay, so we're
But
voting
can
for
we, seeing as we've had technical issues and we've changed how to do things, can we maybe just start from the beginning with the first person we're voting for and go from there, just to make sure that there's no discrepancy and that no vote was not counted?
Thank you for that, because we now have a
Okay, cool. So let's
All
do
right,
that.
thank you. All right, let's start again. All those in favor of
No,
all those in
sorry,
favor of-
Chairperson. Sorry, Chair. I'd like to make another proposal on top. Ne?
Okay, this will be the last proposal, and then everyone will be muted and we'll vote. Go ahead, Onki.
Okay. Firstly, I think you unequivocally said that the PQ system is the law. So if it's the law, then we should stick to that. But the proposal I wanted to make is that let's use the raising of hands, but then at the end of each voting run, like after we are done voting for a certain person, let's formally declare that we've checked that all the hands have been dropped, so that we don't accidentally have some hands that had been up that were up for a previous candidate still being up.
Okay, noted. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, we're going to Richard first. Please raise your hand if you're in favor of Richard being a trustee. So Lise, once you've noted the unit numbers, take into account if they're proxies as well. If you can please give us a unit count, which you can convert to a PQ count if necessary.
I will. 45. Okay, Alan, I'm going to do it on my sheet as well. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1. Okay, I've got Ian, Erasmus, Brandon, Richard, and Hashim voting for Richard.
You've noted the unit numbers in case we have to go to PQ.
I've got it.
Thank you. Everyone, please take your hands down.
Sorry, just can the candidate vote for themselves as well?
Yes, you can.
I just want to say that I'm voting with my proxy as well, eh? I've got.
Yeah, so please take into account unit numbers and their proxies.
Yeah, we're taking them to
Craig,
account.
please mute everybody and let's go to the next trustee, Anne. All those in favor of Anne being a trustee, please raise your hands.
Come on, do it. Where you, Glenn, Daryl, Andre, Anne, where's Anne?
Andre, I've got number 10. Alexander, I've got her. Alexander, that's 9. Alexander Ross, number 5 and 25. Okay. Which is unit 32. Daryl, which is 34. Glenn, which is unit number 50. Sean, unit 22. And unit 46. Kurinsky. I've got Anne, 14, 15, and 16. I've got all Anne's votes.
You've got the unit numbers.
Got the unit numbers, yes.
And you've taken into account the proxies.
Also,
How many?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, including proxies.
Right, thank you. Craig, who is next? Everyone, please take down your hands. Okay, next is Oinki. Please raise your hands if you're in favor of Oinki being a trustee.
Yeah, 38, Audrey, 10, Sean, unit 22, Ross, unit 5 and 25, Jonathan, unit 12, and unit number 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 11 for, oh, hold on, 11, I've got 11 for Onke, yes, including proxies.
Thank you. Craig, who's next? Everyone can please take their hands down. Okay, next is Ian. All those in favor of Ian being a trustee, please raise your hands.
Just want to check proxies quickly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 votes.
Thank you. Please take your hands down. Craig, who's next, please? Okay, Lizette. All those in favor of Lizette, please raise your hands.
Just want to scroll down. Okay, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 17, 18 votes. Alan, you muted.
Yeah, thank you. Can you hear me?
We can.
We can, yes, thank you.
So, Lise, you said 17 for Lizette? So, Lise?
Sorry, it was 18 votes.
Thank you. And you've got the unit numbers.
I do.
Thank you. Next is Hashim. If you're in favor of Hashim being a trustee, please raise your hand.
Why can't I lower the hand? No, he's got 9, maybe 10.
Someone's.
12 votes with the proxies.
Did you say 12?
Yes, I've got unit numbers.
Okay, thank you. Simon M.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 15, including proxies, got unit numbers.
Thank you. Please all lower your hands. Unit 14, 15, and 16, please lower your hand. Thank you. Next is Ibrahim. If you're in favor of Ibrahim being a trustee, please raise your hand.
Got 15 votes, including proxies, got the unit numbers.
Thank you. Please all lower your hands. Unit 14, lower your hand. Unit 14 needs to lower their hand. Okay, it looks like it's been lowered. Next is Lee. Please raise your hand if you're in favor of Lee being a trustee.
Got everybody, 12, including proxies.
Well, Celise.
Yes.
All right. Next is Ainsley. If you're in favor of Ainsley being a trustee, please raise your hands.
Got 9, including proxies and unit numbers.
Thank you. Please all lower your hands. Stan is next. If you're in favor of Stan being a trustee, please raise your hand.
I've got 10, including proxies, and I've got the unit numbers.
Okay. Craig? Craig, can you share the trustee screen?
Alan. So just she's just realizing all the scores, and she will put it up on the screen shortly. We can just give her maybe a minute or two.
Hi, Mr. Chair. May I ask a question?
Not yet. Please hold on. Craig, will Solis be doing it on the PQ because of the closeness in the numbers of votes?
Correct. So it'll all be PQ driven. Yes.
Okay. Let's give Solis an opportunity to do that. In the meantime, we can move on with the rest of the meeting. Hashim, you had a question? Go ahead.
Yes. Ellen, are you the owner of Unit 46?
No, I have a proxy.
You have a proxy, but you don't live at the complex, right?
No, I don't. All right, let's proceed.
Okay.
One or two more items, and then we'll go back to Solis for the outcome of the votes on the trustees. Management Rule 17 says we have to deal with any new or further business. Does anyone have any new or further business to add?
Yeah, I just want to find out, how did you manage to get the proxy of 46? How did you manage that?
The owner appointed me to attend the meeting on their behalf.
But we're employing you to chair the meeting. Now you're a proxy as well. That means you've got a vested interest in what's going on here. That doesn't sound right.
Ian, I can assure you there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with it. An owner can appoint any person to be a proxy, and you're only entitled to be in this meeting if you're an owner or a proxy.
I hear what you're saying, but remember, you've got a monetary value that you've got coming to you for chairing this meeting, and now all of a sudden, just, you know what, you should have just been there to chair the meeting, and now you're representing an owner as well.
You can't chair a meeting if you're not an owner or proxy, and that's why I have a proxy. But as chairperson, when the meeting began, I read out what my obligations are, and I can read you another obligation if you like.
Okay, what did you just say? Okay, but hang on. Then it's normally that Craig chairs the meeting, and he doesn't own you either. And he doesn't have a proxy when he chairs it.
No, the managing agent's also entitled to be present at the meeting. So it's owners, proxies, and the managing agent.
Yeah, somehow I think something's very wrong here, eh?
Ian, I can assure you it's not. I chair many of these meetings where there's legal issues and emotional issues between people.
Can you stop muting me?
It's often a good idea to have an independent chairperson.
You voted for the...
Could I request that we please stop muting people? Both Richard and Hashim have been unfairly muted multiple times. If they are saying something, they have a right to be heard, if this is truly a democratic voting system.
If I may add to that, sorry for whoever was interrupting. You know, in fairness, I mean, I raised the point earlier, Alan. You know, earlier it was said that you were an external person to this, and there was permission asked for you to chair in that capacity. And I raised a question about that because that seemed a bit confusing. Now it's actually even more confusing because you're saying that you're not an external person anymore because you can only attend this meeting if you're an owner or a proxy, therefore you're here. So this seems a bit contradictory and it is quite confusing, I must say. Yeah.
Brandon, let me clarify. It's very simple. Just like everyone else here is an owner or proxy, they could have been elected to chair the meeting. Same as me. I'm a proxy. I can be elected to chair the meeting.
I completely understand that. That is not.
You are paid to chair.
Trust me, I have no confusion about that whatsoever, Alan. The confusion that I have is why you, as a professional, you come in here as a lawyer who was supposed to give, advice of this. And I must say, you've done a great job of chairing this because it has been a difficult meeting to chair. I recognize that. There have been a lot of emotions at play. And I think you've done a really good job of trying to keep the meeting moving forward and such. But I mean, also in the capacity to which you approach this as a legal expert, that seemed impartial at the get-go. This now seems a bit strange. So I'm just, and like Ian has said, there is money involved here also. So this just seems a bit bizarre. I'm going to be honest.
And specifically, we were told that you were
Brandon, just to
external
answer that, everything, me being here as a proxy and me being elected to chair the meeting is in accordance with the Act.
I understand that.
The Act
I
doesn't
understand that
restrict it.
completely. I'm just saying, I think, from a professional point of view, for yourself as a lawyer, a disclosure should have been made. I don't think that's, that was unbecoming of us to expect that. I agree that everything's done by the book. I'm not doubting that, but I mean, I think just, it seems a little bit bizarre from a professional point of view that you introduced yourself as a lawyer, chairing this impartially, and now you're voting.
Yes, as a proxy. And I assume that you all knew that to be in this meeting, you either have to be an owner or a proxy.
Yes, I agree with you, Alan. But the point made up by everybody else was that they were looking at the new trustees or whatever it was going forward, only being an owner. You're not an owner. You just got proxy. You don't live on the premises. You are being paid to chair the meeting, and you have a decision in which trustees to vote for. So how do you know the trustees that you have voted for? Have you guys met before? Have you guys had arrangements and meetings prior to this? Do you understand my point? I don't think it's very fair, and I don't think it's really right, if you ask me from my side.
Hashim, you're welcome to your opinion.
My opinion
is
is
a proxy. I'm here
you
as a
cannot
proxy representing
vote
an
on it
owner.
if you are the chairman.
You can't. Of course you can.
I'm sorry, I just have to ask, has what has been done tonight legal or not?
Oh, Daryl, let's not talk about legality.
Okay.
I'm sorry, like I said, we're not talking legalities. I don't doubt the
Okay, I'm going to bring order to the meeting and we're going to proceed.
Sure.
Solis, have you got the vote count for the trustees?
Nope, sorry. You can carry on. I will let you know when I'm done.
Okay.
I just want to throw in something here. When I took my case to CSOS, you were the attorney that advised the managing agent that I wasn't allowed. So, you know what? You've got a vested interest in something, or somebody's got a vested interest in you. You didn't just fall out of the sky. So that's my problem that I had, because you advised STS that I'm not allowed to have my camera, and I proved it. I went to CSOS and I proved that it was allowed.
Totally.
There's something wrong. There's something wrong here.
Ian, I'm here in a representative capacity as a proxy. I'm entitled to be in the meeting, and the majority of the owners voted that I should chair the meeting. And I've been impartial. I've given everyone a chance to speak. I haven't influenced anyone's voting. So everything that
Honestly,
I've
I
done
think that's
is
that's
according to the
untrue,
book.
because I wouldn't have voted for you to chair the meeting as an impartial person if I'd known that you had a proxy. So that's just straight up nonsense as far as I'm concerned.
I second that.
That's basically disrespecting our meeting. If
To
you ask
be in
me.
tonight's meeting, you have to be an owner or a proxy or the managing agent. That's how it works.
So why did
So why
Just
didn't you
gonna
disclose
carry
that
on
at the
on.
beginning, Alan?
I assumed that you knew that to be in the meeting, I would be a proxy. I'd be
That's
holding a
not.
proxy.
I don't think that's a fair assumption to make when you introduce yourself as an outside person that's impartial.
Yeah.
Sorry, Brandon. I actually introduced Alan as an impartial individual to chair the meeting, and he did have a proxy to be here.
But you didn't say that until now.
Yes, that was not communicated until now. If we had known that, we have had different perspectives.
That's
on
why I
this.
say everything might be legal, but it's very unprofessional.
I second that.
So can
we
we replay the recording?
Yeah, Carol. Yeah, look. Yeah, I don't think it's necessary to go down the route. I think Alan is here correctly so, and duly appointed, in my opinion. Yeah. So there's. Yeah, I don't know what I say.
Similarly, Ellen was brought on to chair the meeting. As mentioned previously, there are only certain trustees. Glenn mentioned earlier that today is the first time he's meeting Ellen. But at the meeting earlier that we had in the week, he mentioned that he met with Ellen just to clarify certain points which he wanted clarification on.
100%. I can second that.
Yeah,
It just
guys, can we
doesn't make
just get on with it? I've backed the decision 100%, and it's for exactly this reason. Just look how clueless everybody here is, and I mean that with respect. That's as I said in the beginning. Hash, let me finish.
You know what? That's a bit of, you know what? Who's
Guys, let me finish. Guys, I've shut up and you've talked, so let me talk now. So, Ash, that was the reason that I supported the notion to bring someone like Alan on right from the start. For exactly this reason. Everyone has no idea what the law is, what the rules are. I mean, and guys, can we get on with it? We've got Ash, please let me finish, then you can speak. Guys, we've got probably 150 votes in total here. Is one vote going to make any goddamn difference whatsoever? So can we move off this silly, childish point, and can we move to the next point?
Glenn, I'm sorry, let's not be dismissive here. I think, we said we're not going to be defamatory about people, but you saying that this is childish or wanting us to move on from this kind of point, I'm sorry, that smacks of a bit of disrespect here for a significant cohort of owners or proxies, who have voiced a concern here. So, this is just, I've asked Alan some direct questions. It's not about who voted on what. We all know what the recording says. We all know we voted. I voted for him too. I'm just asking, I asked a straight question that why was not certain, things which could be conceived as conflicts of interest not disclosed at the appropriate times? And I think those are very fair questions to ask. And I believe that the owners deserve answers to these questions without being disrespected and being called childish, etc., or as if we're clueless and don't know anything better.
Well, in terms of the law, you are clueless because none of you know it. You're not trained in the law, so that's a stated fact. That's not an opinion. But guys, can we just move on? My objection, all of what you said, I agree, but my objection is people making the insinuation that this is a plot, and that's complete nonsense. I supported this not because of a complete plant, knowing that this person at best could have one vote in 150 of all votes we've done tonight. Guys, it wasn't put.
It's a simple question, Glenn. Glenn, it's a simple question.
Exactly. Let me finish. I didn't interrupt you. Now, please let me finish. Guys, this is exactly why we had Alan here. It's to dissolve things like this so that people who don't know the law, and sorry, I withdraw the child analogy, but guys, people are carrying on You know, he's the only one here that knows the law inside and out. It's his job, it's his profession. And that's precisely why we had an, I'm off the trustees now, but I would recommend from time to time, if it's not Alan, you do the same again. So guys, can we please move on? I think we've made the points now. Let's just, you know, move on. I don't think that one vote's going to
Glenn,
change
it's
anything,
fair.
so
It's just a simple question. A simple answer question is, why was that not disclosed at the appropriate time? Please answer that question and I will happily move on.
Let me answer that question. Let me answer that question, and then we'll mute everyone and wait for Solis to give the votes. Brandon, I assume that you all knew that to be in this meeting, you have to be an owner, a proxy, or a managing agent. And I'm here this evening as a proxy, just to let you know that anyone in tonight's meeting who chaired the meeting, you could allege to be conflicted or be impartial. Because whether it's an owner or a proxy chairing the meeting, or the chairman of the trustees himself, you could allege that person to be conflicted and be impartial. So that's why we have Management Rule 18, which specifically says that the chairman can't influence members' votes and he has to be impartial. And that's what I've clearly done tonight. I've given everyone a chance to speak and I've been impartial. So let's please close this discussion. Solis, how far are you on the calculation?
Alan, sorry, Alan, even your last statement there right now doesn't.
They're muting him.
Yeah, that's wrong. Why?
Solis, how far are we on the vote count?
Please give Brandon a chance to speak.
Please give Brandon a chance to speak.
Hold on, please. Solis?
Sorry, Alan. I've got 3 more persons to go, so just give me 5 minutes.
Okay.
Seeing as we're waiting for Solis, Alan, you can unmute me so that I can have a chance to speak, please. All right. Even the last statement that you just said contradicts itself, because you literally just quoted the law. I'm not an expert on the law, you are. And you quoted the law saying that the chairman cannot influence members voting. And yet you vote. I'm confused.
I agree.
Let me read you what the rule says. A chairperson at a general meeting must not from the chair attempt to influence members' views on any item of business or disclose in advance of a vote how the chairperson intends to vote on any item of business. So I did not disclose in advance how I intended to vote, and I did not attempt to influence members' views on any item of business. But the chairperson has to be an owner or a proxy or a managing agent. And that person will always have an interest and on your view will always be conflicted. But unfortunately, that's how the legislation is drafted. And that's why there's a full 1-page rule on how the chairperson has to maintain impartiality. And that's what I've done this evening.
You're not impartial. You vote.
Alan, may I speak?
You know what,
May I say
Craig?
something?
Craig, stop
Alan, may I
muting
say
the people.
Alan, may I say something?
Go ahead.
Right. My question to you is, have you met anybody from the Board of Trustees prior to this meeting?
That's not relevant to me being appointed proxy and being appointed as the chairperson.
It's relevant because you said the chair should not influence a vote. So if you've met them before, which means it was a discussion. So
It
your
says from the
impartiality
chair,
is
from
that
our
you
position as chairperson,
An
attempt to
attorney-
influence members'
an
views on
attorney-
any item of business. That's what the management rule says.
an attorney should stick to the rules more than all of us. That's all I'm saying. I'm sure we heard what Brendan said and Ian. So I
Sorry,
think
how hasn't he?
we can go.
I'm not happy. As an owner, I'm not happy about what happened tonight. I'm not happy. And I will find out tomorrow what the rules exactly say.
Can I say something, Chair?
Yes, please go ahead.
I think, especially for the sake of the minutes, if in future there's a proxy who's also being paid by the body corporate to attend the meeting. I think it should definitely be disclosed as such. I don't think it was fair that it wasn't disclosed, especially by someone who's a legal professional, because a
But
legal professional,
it
in my
was.
opinion,
It
sorry,
was.
sorry,
It
I'm
was-
still on the floor.
Sorry, you're right.
That is a proxy. That is a proxy. He has a proxy.
Look at my name on the meeting. It actually says in brackets the owner that I represent.
Yeah, but in my opinion, Alan, I think you should have disclosed it. Really, I think you should have disclosed it, and I would request that in future, if we're gonna invite someone external,
He's a proxy and he's paid.
And you're getting paid.
Yeah, that's my point. I'm saying if someone is getting paid and they are also a proxy, they are getting paid to come in here and provide us with a service, in this case, which was the professional advice. And I'm not saying we need to necessarily go and reverse the agreement to pay. I'm not planning to go and study that rule in that context, but I honestly think it should have been explicitly disclosed, especially in light of the fact that we were under the impression that we were paying for a service only. Thank you.
Don't like the comments that Glennie's busy putting there in the right-hand side. I'm not some child, eh?
Chairperson, I think you had, if we in a position to move on from this point, I think you had asked if anyone wanted to raise any other point on the general.
I think people have raised other points. There's only one item left, and that is to give directions or impose restrictions on the trustees. Let's first see who the trustees are.
No,
and
sorry,
then
sorry, Chair, I disagree. I think some people did raise points under general. At a certain point, got discussed at length. So unfortunately, we spent too much time on that point. But there actually was a point that I wanted to raise. Maybe the trustees can help answer me. I was under the impression. Can I go ahead with that?
you're entitled to deal with any new or further business if you have any.
Yeah. So I was of the understanding that there had been a resolution taken to no longer repair our laundry machinery, washing machine and dryers that are owned by the complex. And I was under the impression that that was going to be tabled at this meeting. And I'm not, according to my understanding, it's not been discussed. I don't know, maybe one of the trustees can fill me in whether are we discussing that or not.
I'm done.
Can one of the trustees answer that?
Me?
Daryl, if you want, I'll answer it.
Yes, please.
Anki, it's very clear factually. It was voted at the last AGM not to carry on with the machines for all the financial reasons. There were arguments made as an asset. A 25-year-old asset is being depreciated a maximum of 5 years. So from an accounting
We're talking
point
about
of view,
something that went.
Daryl, why don't you just take your stuff off? You're on the screen. Guys, so Anki, where we stand on that, no. So we didn't prepare the machines, and they're staying. But of course, the new trustees can raise it again. You know, they could raise it to the owners to say, we need to go. I mean, some people have said they'll just repair the machines at some cheap price, but that hasn't happened for weeks, months. So maybe they're still going to do it. All the machines have to be repurchased, and the repurchase price on those machines is in and around 80,000. They're about 30, 40K each. So they're quite expensive pieces of kit. But so to answer your question, the new trustees now can decide whether they want to resurrect it. But as of midnight tonight, the machines weren't repaired because that was decided. So carry on with the new trustees. They can resurrect it and decide what they want to do with the machines again.
In response to you, Glenn, about the
thank you,
laundry machine.
Glenn.
We asked for permission from the trustees on the group and everywhere else, and it was confirmed that it would be discussed at this meeting moving forward. That hasn't happened. No permission was granted to us to actually get somebody to bring in to check if the machines are viable. As mentioned by Craig, that 5 years ago it was mentioned and it was uneconomical to maintain, but till to date, nothing like that has come back to us. There's no financial implications of it. The only expenses that the machine actually costed us was the 10,000 rand charged by STS to come and collect money from machines that they say don't make enough money. So that was the only amount of money that was paid for the management of the machines, and it was to collect money and deposit it, which amounted to about 10,000 rand, which if you look at it, 10,000 rand could have been used to maintain the machines. And Ellen can maybe intercept here, all machinery and assets that's held by the complex needs to be maintained
100%
by the trustee, and it needs to be in good working order.
So Hashim, if I can just interject here, that machines like a lawnmower, like a washing machine, they are depreciated over a year.
As you mentioned, like I'm telling you, the only money that you guys have spent and taken from the body corporate was for you guys collecting money and depositing it.
Right.
So no money was put towards maintenance of the machine. Yet now it's mentioned that it needs
Correct.
to be maintained.
And you're right. You're right, Hashim. And that is the reason for that is because nobody was using the machines at all. Nobody was actually using the machines. They're dysfunctional. They're actually costly sell by date. It's going to cost us 30 rand.
We were using
machines actually repaired again. And
Sorry,
what
Chair,
if you
sorry,
can
Chair.
afford that? Because not many people are using those machines.
Sorry, Chair, can I please try to? Sorry,
Yeah,
Hashim.
let's give everybody a chance. Hold on, please.
Can I please just be given an
Hold on, okay.
opportunity
Hold
to
on, please.
restate my question, because I think what is being discussed here is not what I was trying to raise. It's a valid point that I agree the trustees may need to still consider in the next term, but there's a specific point that the trustees and the outgoing trustees had considered, and the point that was made in those meetings was this: the previous AGM has already made a resolution that the washing machines, if they break down, they should not be repaired any longer, but rather they can be removed and written off and so on. So that was the point that was to be brought on here, because some trustees were of the view that any decision that we might take to repair the machines would go against the previous resolution. So as far as I'm concerned, that resolution still stands, that we shouldn't repair the machines. The owners no longer wish to maintain the machines once they break down and sort of reach end of life. I might be misinterpreting it, but if we're saying it's an issue that was if we're saying there was an AGM resolution on that matter, then I think only the AGM can overturn that resolution if they wish to, and instruct the trustees to either make any decision they see fit or to repair the machines if they want to change their decision. That's the point I'm trying to raise. The issue of the issues of the numbers and reasons for repairing and whatever. I'm not sure that they should be part of. At least they are not part of my question. So what I'm trying to put on the floor is whether can we use this opportunity to table this specific feedback to the owners, and perhaps get a decision from the owners whether do they still maintain their previous resolution that we should not fix the machines once they break down, or are they saying that they would prefer that the trustees look into the matter again, or what? Thank you.
The problem is there's new owners now. So it's a new broom sweeps clean.
Well, I'm asking new owners to sweep now with the AGM so that trustees don't sit there with an unclear resolution. If owners want to change the resolution,
You know what? I don't know who the trustees are. Let's just see who the trustees are, and then we can move on from there. Because I can tell you what, I've got 1,000,001 ideas of sorting out a lot of problems. I've got all the ideas, so you know what I mean, bringing in extra security. But let's get down to the voting and see who's got it there. And the new trustees, they'll have to take the responsibility of doing what is in the interests of the whole complex as a whole.
Okay. So where does that put us now? Are we proposing to vote?
No, you can't. Sorry, just to correct you here, you've already approved the agenda, so you can't vote on any new items or add any items to the agenda. You've just got an opportunity here to deal with any new or further business, but you can't vote on any new business and add it to the agenda now. It wouldn't be fair to the owners who never attended tonight's meeting because it wasn't on the agenda. So you can discuss it, but you can't vote on any new or further business.
Then I think the next term's trustees might be sitting with the same predicament. Unfortunately,
you're right. Okay,
I think we overlooked it by mistake.
Sulis is literally a minute away from resolving the trustees election. So if we can possibly just sit just another minute, please, if you don't mind.
There is one more item on your agenda under general. It's waterproofing project. So if one of the trustees or Craig, if you want to take everybody through that.
Sure. Okay, so Anke and Adre were instrumental in this entire process. Anke, Adre, would you guys like to take us through this, or Sulis, maybe? It's a lot of work that went into this. I must tell you guys that this waterproofing project is massive. It is really huge. Anke and Andre and Sulis put a lot of time and effort into this, in trying to get this body corporate waterproof. Anke, do you want to maybe give us a 5-minute relapse here?
Okay, thanks. I think maybe the other trustees can, especially Sulis, might have more in terms of numbers. And I won't lie, I do struggle a little bit in terms of the scope. The technical side of this project was a bit difficult for me. I've been more on the contractual commercial side. Lee has given us amazing support as a non-trustee. He's given us amazing support from a technical point of view in reviewing, the technical parts of the contractor's proposal. So just to try and summarize, we were given a go-ahead to start working on a waterproofing project. At the time, if memory serves, we already have Simon Nathan having done an engineering review and proposals as to what he believes needs to be done in order to permanently fix, or at least sustainably fix, the water leak issues that have been troubling the complex. So we took from that engineer's report and went out to market to source potential suppliers. At the time, in fact, the project lead was Christia, who did also an amazing job before she sold her property. And after quite a long and detailed vetting process, we eventually settled on a company called Sycon that we ended up awarded. Yes, sir. Craig?
Yeah.
I think you wanted to come in?
No, sorry, you will carry on. Carry on.
Oh, okay. So we eventually appointed a company called Sycon, whom, in our opinion, actually right from the start came up quite head and shoulders over and above the other tenderers. They were extremely responsive. and so on. And to be honest, they've kept us to that same level of service, even through the project. In my opinion, yes, there have been a minor misunderstanding here and there once they mobilized, but as someone who works with contractors for a living, I've been quite impressed. They've really given us good service, very responsive, and so on. So we ultimately came to 110, sorry, my numbers might not be too accurate, but if memory serves, we had come to 196, we're around 200,000 for the 2 blocks that we decided to start with. And then later on, we, in an attempt to cut down on the cost, we then ended up stripping out the scope for a cherry picker, which we opted to hire on our own. And ultimately, we placed that contract with Cycon, excluding the cherry picker. Nevertheless, they did cooperate with us, coordinated with the cherry picker supplier as well, even when there were issues. And we eventually got a cherry picker. We got assistance from the cherry picker supplier to make sure that they know how to use it correctly and so on. The project is actually completed already for the 2 blocks. And again, they performed according to their timelines that they had promised us, which I think is fairly rare, without any big fights there. And they've done the first 2 blocks, and we want to use those 2 blocks to observe the effectiveness of the repairs in the upcoming rainy season. So as you can imagine, going forward, as we roll out the project, assuming of course that we're happy with the results, but to be honest, even with the interactions with the engineer, and the way they explained everything, both the engineer, the contractor, and Lee, to my mind, I think we should see major improvements. We chose the worst affected blocks as well. So if it works there, then clearly it's going to work everywhere else. We obviously, therefore, going to be faced with huge costs going forward. I'd say you can thumbs up 100,000 rand per block. It's also been highlighted, and we've seen it live with our own eyes. We are seeing ridiculous levels of inflation. So going forward, we know that this one is going to be a very difficult one. So going forward, we'll have to figure out a way how to spread out the cost in a sustainable way. That is not going to kill all of us on levies and special levies. I don't know, Solis, if you'd like to add anything. And by the way, thanks a lot to you, Hashim, for being an eye on the contractor physically, as I live very far from the complex. It was not possible for me to be always there. Furthermore, actually something came up that needed me to go to Eastern Cape anyway. So even if I had been there, I would have had to leave. So thanks a lot to Hashim for helping us to coordinate the work between us and the supplier. On Friday, I'm forgetting a very important thing. On Friday, we're gonna have a meeting with the supplier to come and inspect the quality of the work so that we can sign off on their payment, by the way. That meeting is gonna be attended by some of the trustees. I think it's me and Anne. I don't know if I'll still be a trustee then, but I think it would be important that I still attend that one. Lee will join us virtually. As I said, he is the guy who's been really giving us tremendous assistance on the technical side of the project. So Liz, are you attending? I think Solis might be in, but at the end of the day, we will be doing that final inspection of the 2 blocks and just check that the scope of work has been performed as expected. I'm not sure if I mentioned that the engineer will be there as well, which is very important. And then if we're 100% happy, we will be releasing payment to the contractor for these first 2 blocks and start working on how to cover the rest of the blocks going forward, both in terms of money and in terms of time. Maybe it might take 3 years, I don't know, to cover all the blocks. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Solis, how are we doing on the counts?
Sorry, guys, we're having technical difficulties here. If you can just give us 5 more minutes, we do apologize.
Okay. Craig, are there any current restrictions or directions on the current trustees?
Alan, no. So Solis is just basically taking all the information that she has, applying to the PQ, and she needs just a little bit more time to give you the actual results. But no, to your original question.
Okay, because the last item on the agenda will be whether the owners wish to impose any directions or restrictions on the trustees. And then we can end
Ellen,
the
I
meeting.
think, Ellen, 1 second. I think Glenn made a point of putting the votes through as 1:1, and then if there is a variation or complication, then you can go through PQ. Wouldn't that work out easier and faster? We're sitting at 9:15.
I'm not talking about that.
No, I'm speaking now about the voting.
Yeah, Solis is calculating the votes on the PQ as we're required to do. Because some of the votes are very close. There's 9 in favor, there's 10 in favor, there's 11 in favor, there's 12 in favor. So Solis is calculating it on the PQ as we're required to do.
So, Alan, I don't think there are any restrictions on the current trustees, and there wouldn't be any going forward. But Craig, if I remember correctly, there was if a project was to cost above a certain amount, it had to go to another level. I think that's the only restriction that we ever had on the current trustees. If there was a project that went above a certain amount, it couldn't just be made. Craig, if I remember correctly, it was 100,000 or was it 50? I don't recall exactly.
Sorry, Glenn, if you could just repeat that. I'm on the other line with Solis at the moment.
Alan asked if there were any restrictions to be imposed going forward. You know, some organizations will have certain restrictions, you know, almost like a governance for directors. As far as I know, there weren't any restrictions on the current trustees, so there wouldn't be any going forward. Although I think somewhere in our constitution, for want of a better term, if there was a project that exceeded a certain amount in capital outlay, then there was a restriction. It had to be referred to owners. But I can't remember what that was, if it was 50,000 or 100,000, but there was a project restriction just to stop someone from playing government and pulling a Zuma on us. So it was, but I think that's entrenched even in CSOS.
Agreed. So when big ticket items like painting or waterproofing in your particular case comes to light, then obviously the owners would then restrict the trustees from spending or going over a certain rand value for that spend. Right now, the only thing we've got is dam proofing. We've just painted, so we don't have that kind of restriction except that. And of course, we'd have to probably raise a special levy to fund that. So at this stage, I would say, you know, restrict the trustees to staying within budget, and a special levy to be raised through the owners in the traditional fashion or sense.
Yeah, look, I think it's unlikely we'll need a special levy in the next fiscal year, because those projects, you know, as Onko alluded to, will probably only be done this time next year, as these two were done. But yeah, something like a special levy would have to, I think, go to owners, because it's obviously a financial amount. You know, it's above. So yeah. So other than that, yeah, the new trustees won't have any restrictions. So yeah, good luck. Get on with it.
Are you going to manage to calculate the votes on the trustees this evening, or would you like to conclude the meeting and announce the votes via email tomorrow?
Announce now.
Ellen, I would appreciate that. If we could possibly just announce that via email to all participants at the moment, it'll be great. We just got a technical issue that has overwhelmed us or surpassed us, if want for a better word. But again, all owners that are currently here will be given the opportunity to say whether they voted or not, and to legitimize obviously the numbers that we have processed. So Ellen, yes, if we may do that, I'd appreciate that. It'll be good.
But doesn't it have to be decided at the AGM?
Yeah, Ian, the votes should be announced before the meeting ends. But if that's not possible, and if everyone here agrees to it going out via email tomorrow, that should be in order. It's already 9:30 nearly. So are there any objections to the votes for the trustees being announced via email tomorrow to everyone present and all the other owners?
Can we also, Ellen, sorry, can we also make the spreadsheet available to see? We can make that available for everybody to see.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
so Lisa, I
Any,
think as long
any
as it's above
objections to
board.
that?
Yes, I'm objecting.
Ellen, if I may intercede, you could do the calculation on participants. If you click on participants, you could basically see whose hands were up and calculate it amongst the units that they have.
Yeah, but you're not
And then
allowed
if
to
you-
calculate on number of units. You have to calculate on PQ. Your size of the unit determines the size of your vote.
Is that a recent addition?
Since 2016.
Okay, because it's the first time that has been implemented at the meeting.
And as Ian has said, the outcome of each vote must be announced by the chairperson and recorded in the minutes of the meeting. So ideally we should wait, but if it's not possible, then if no one here objects to the spreadsheet being shared tomorrow, then we can conclude tonight's meeting.
Can I just ask a question? Now, since we're on this thing, who is the information officer of the complex? There's supposed to be one. I haven't got the answer. Maybe we can find out tonight.
And I also haven't got an explanation for how the current chairperson of the trustees got back in after she resigned.
Okay, so Ian, the short and sweet answer is that we are the information officer for the complex. It's recorded. We've got a certificate to that effect, and we can send you a copy. The reason
it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. I'm sure Ellen Levy will be able to inform you that it doesn't work like that.
How does it work?
Ask Ellen Levy. He's here.
How does it work, Ellen, if we may ask?
There's nothing wrong presently with the managing agent being the information officer. CSOS specifically had a meeting with the information regulator and was confirmed that a managing agent can be the information officer.
So all the other places we own where there's information officers, you tell me now it's not needed. Oh, really?
Ian, with respect, you're mixing up the issues. Presently, the managing agent is entitled to be the information officer of the complex.
All right. You know what? I tell you what, on my CSOS case, he said that there's an information officer. Craig said there's an information officer of this complex. He didn't give me the name. This is on my adjudication order.
You're right, Ian. We did say that, and we stand by that. We are, in fact, the information officers for the building.
You've twisted everything around.
Sorry, Ian. I'm not sure what's confused you, but
now I'm confused.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, you know what, Craig?
Okay, yeah, I do apologize. All right, folks, so if we are able to send you the election of trustees tomorrow to all owners present, Suliz has asked for that grace. She has just need to rework the numbers. And of course, obviously, every single person's election will be next to the name nominated. So there will be no room for manipulation or anything of the sort. I would appreciate if we'd be given that time to do so.
Okay. Are there any objections to that? So we can just note them in the minutes.
Yeah, I'm objecting.
Okay, so Unit 26 objects. Any other objections?
Perfect.
Sorry?
I'm
Unit number 45 is objecting.
Correct.
I'm just curious because if they knew that it was going to be calculated at PQ, he could have set up a spreadsheet and entered the details in once the meeting was done.
We did, Hashim. You're 100% correct. The sad reality is that that spreadsheet fell flat, which is wrong.
Excel
I agree
crash.
with you. Yes, agreed. So
Impossible,
it didn't
man.
work.
Crazy.
I agree. I agree. So if we
Right,
can possibly
so-
disseminate that amongst the owners by tomorrow, that'll be fantastic if we can do that. The reason being is that Suliz wants to get this right. She doesn't want to, under pressure now, go and possibly make any mistakes that could come about.
Okay. I don't believe there's any prejudice to anybody. And save for the two objections, all owners and proxies present have agreed to
Craig,
it.
Adam, if I may ask, what happens to your in the voting process?
Sorry, say again, Hashim.
What happens to your votes that you've made in the voting process?
My votes are counted because I represent an owner.
So the whole discussion that we went through now fell flat on his face.
What do you mean, Hashim?
The discussion
What is
we
your
had where
question?
myself, Brandon, and Ian raised our points. Basically, because it's you chairing the meeting, whatever we've said is swept under the carpet, so it's not noted.
I don't know what your question is. Please, can you be
I'm
more
asking,
precise?
why is your vote still standing if we have queries on the reason that you are voting? And
You
chairing
don't
the
have
place and being paid to do
you
it.
don't have queries on the reason I'm voting. I'm voting because I represent an owner who couldn't be at tonight's meeting. So I have that owner's vote.
He's here above me. He's here today. That's why it sounds a little bit offish to me. But since you feel that it's right, you're the attorney, so you'll be able to.
It is
explain
correct, and I have no concerns about that. All right, thank you everybody for attending. I'm now going to dissolve the meeting, and you'll hear from the managing agent tomorrow with the outcome of who has been elected trustees.
Thank you, Alan.
Thank you, everyone, and have a good evening. Further.
Thank you, Alan. Thank you.
with your
Good night.
service.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Bye.
Recording stopped.